and we're doing it live. Hi, we're the Stidhams, and our goal is to help you get self-directed. It's the tax-free income that will shape your legacy. It's wealth, time, and the freedom you deserve. What you're about to learn will enable you to make confident and strategic moves. It means gaining complete control to invest in what you want when you want. We've helped thousands of people just like you. And if they can do it, you can too. So we hope you're ready, because it's about time that your money started working for you. And we're so excited that you chose us to show you how.
Starting right now.
Hey. Too high again.
Too high, too low. Too low, too high.
And we had an amazing day today, and what an opportunity. Something happened today, y'all, and I want to share it with you. Hey, Veronica, welcome.
Welcome, Veronica.
Yes, Veronica, this is going to mean a lot to you when you hear what happened. Jump in the chat so we know that you're here to witness this moment that happened today, okay? We don't know that you're watching unless you jump in the chat, of course. Here's what happened. I got to interview Evan Carmichael today. He is, and you guys are going to love this interview because I made it all about you and things that we can all learn from his journey to obtaining wealth and what he's done since he's become wealthy. I think a lot of us see this as an end goal, right? This is our exit. We get off as soon as we reach this point. But Evan kept going, and the reason I think you will enjoy once we have a chance to go through this footage and edit it. Here's something else that happened. Okay, get in here, guys, because I'm about to spill the tea.
Do we zoom in? Is it the TikTok?
Yeah, let's get in here. Hey,
Chick-fil-A
Feather.
sauce.
Yeah, welcome. I'm so glad you guys joined us. Okay, we got Bruce, we got Zaid. His comment isn't coming up for some reason.
Yeah, mine did that too, and I thought it was just me.
Okay. The replay viewers are like, would you get with it? What happened today? What happened? Okay. About a year ago, I need some soft music. No. Oh. About a year ago, I don't know. That's not a vibe.
Let it ride. Let's go. About a year ago.
About a year ago, I got this book from Joe Polish called What's in It for Them. This is a book that you would think would be a book like a business marketing book, right? This is the theme of what Joe Polish does. But that's not really what it was about. It was about relationships, okay? Inside of this book is where I heard the story. We're going to get rid of that. Where I had heard the story about the boats and the British rowing team. Now, I was so inspired by the story that before we even shared it on here, I had purchased those boats for our whole family, right? Like, this has been a thing for us before it ever became a thing here on this channel. That's why we have the boats, is because it has become a mantra, and this is where I learned it, okay? This is where I was inspired, not just by that story, but tons of other things in here, okay? Today, where I filmed Evan was in Joe's office.
Evan who?
Evan Carmichael was in his office, and he signed this book. Now, if that's not the most exciting part, you guys, honestly, have you ever had this happen to you? We're going to celebrate this right now. That's not the most exciting part. The most exciting part was I got to share with him the impact that he had on me, and now the impact that that's had on our community with you guys. This is amazing. And I think it felt like a gift within a gift within a gift. It was just like the gifts when you keep opening it up and more gifts keep popping in and you have to unwrap that gift. And we just kept opening up gifts. That's really what this afternoon felt like. And now we're here with you guys.
But let's ride this. We got to no, we're not. Let's ride this moment for a minute, though.
You're frozen.
Frozen where? I'm not
No,
frozen
okay,
here.
no, you're good. You're good. You're
So
good.
let's ride this moment. I mean, let's ride this moment. Let's ride this moment out a little bit further. Is what I was
Yeah.
trying to say. And here's what I mean. I think it's safe to say you were in your bag today. Meaning, um, you do very well in hurting me as your only cat. But today you had to put together a production, build a film team, find a location. Once you identified that location, put together a system, a fully, I'll call it thought thought out system to interview Evan, who came in on a whim. It's like this wasn't planned. This was not hey, we had months to prepare, and so I think for you to pull this off and for it to go the way that it did, and for it happened to be in Joe Polish office, like come on, that's pretty
I
pop.
I didn't find the location though.
Right,
This was the part that was so
right.
like this was so purpose driven.
That's it.
And I'm in my feelings right now. I got to be honest, guys. I'm in my feelings and I was even talking to Evan about it and he was like, "Don't you dare get on your live stream and pretend that something didn't just happen if something happened." And I want to share this because I feel like one, this is that proof, right? You have these like moments of confirmations in your life that you're doing the right thing and that you're going in the right direction. Like
Right,
your boat is headed in the right direction, right? That's one. And then two, it's the proof of how this ripple effect that we can have on people and communities. Now, we've had 10,000 people say, yes, I want more here on this channel. And that's like, we haven't been able to celebrate that yet because it happened in between
right. All of
streams,
this.
right? Yeah, and all of this. And I'm so excited about that. So, like, we got to start it over. Here we go. We need some confetti. Yeah, we got to throw something. And so that's all on its own and our community is growing and we couldn't be more excited because it means that there's value out here and that there's proof that this is changing lives and this is working. The other part of this though is the ripple effect, right? So this isn't just about us, this is about those who inspired us and then now we're inspiring other people. And here's the most amazing part. Who will you inspire? Who are you inspiring right now? You're here learning this information tonight or on Sunday nights or on watching on the replay. But who is it that you're going to inspire and whose life are you going to change or the infinite amount, right? The number of lives that you will change just by sharing how you were inspired by this information.
Right.
It's completely incredible. And this is how we're going to change the game. How we're going to change the game. Hey, Zandria.
You know, the purpose for tonight's live, because we had a original plan. Original plan was kind of talk through velocity banking and go through some more examples and actually do a first position versus second position HELOC. You know, which one is better, blah blah blah. But what's been interesting over the last few weeks is I've been getting a lot of calls from people who just found us like the day before we met, and they've been binge watching this information and learning and trying to understand. And I had an interesting call with the lady yesterday who started to tear up because she was shocked that there was no upsell. There was no we went through this conversation as it relates to her circumstance and how she can some actions that can be taken, some actionable items that came out, some boxes that can actually be checked. And she went, okay, and how much do I owe you? Or then what? Like she was waiting on and now come over here to this room where I can show you what's behind door number one.
Right.
And there was none of that. And what I shared with her was this, and this is something that I intentionally put on my vision board for this year, and that is stay in purpose. Because if we are able to just simply stay where we're supposed to be, and that is in purpose, all of this will take care of itself. And I think this is what we've asked for. We've asked for a freedom tour, a financial freedom tour for this year. That doesn't mean that that financial freedom tour is going to happen when we're ready or when we have the time. So this day, if you go day by day since last Friday, we've been going just about every day for whatever that purpose was, for whatever that reason was, because we are on this financial freedom tour. And I
Yeah.
think today was just one more box, one more example of staying in purpose. And so to your point, hopefully we have this also the same effect on others on how do you stay in purpose. What are those things that you're doing to make sure that this message, that if it resonates and that it's being received, how do you share it? What are those efforts that you make to make sure if you didn't come from a wealthy family comes from you? What are those things that you're doing to make sure that maybe you don't have your WTF moment today, but the actions that you're taking to create that WTF moment are what's going to also set up the generations coming behind you to make it easier for them. So I think this is all the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to feel like this. It's supposed to feel rushed. It's supposed to feel like, man, I just left one meeting and had to jump into another. I just finished this 2-hour interview and had to jump right on. I think it's supposed to be this way.
Okay. I couldn't agree more. And another thing that we were talking about was like, what's your max? You know, um, what are you
Moonshot.
capable of? Yeah, right. What are you capable of? And sometimes we set goals that are really high, but what is that version of you that we have to become, right? In order to achieve that. And we're all growing together in this way. And so I would love to know more about you guys. What is your moonshot? What's the goal? And we say that all the time, but I think what changed today was the word believe. What do you believe is possible? What I was asking him was because that's his word. He had wrote a book called Your One Word.
Who
And
wrote a book?
Evan Carmichael is the author of the book Your One Word. And this is like your word, your anthem, your mantra, your
The business in which you stand on.
yeah, but it's just one word, right? And so he has this your one word, and his is believe, right? Like his purpose is around this word. I think that what we want and what we believe could be two different things. You don't have to believe math first and foremost. And that's what we kind of talk about here is that a lot of the approaches that we've had, a lot of the trust and faith that we've had in systems, we've believed in them. But you don't have to believe in math. If the math either maths or it doesn't, right? Like that's just that it does or it doesn't. So I think that we can try to separate what it is that we believe, and we should bring Cortland on here to talk about money in your
Decide.
mind. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. But if we can hold on to one question, we kind of talked about maybe doing like a Zoom call or something, right? Maybe that's what we'll talk about because I really would love to hear it from you guys. Send us some audio, some voicemails. Maybe that's what it is. Like send some audio notes to us so we
Play
can
them on
hear.
air.
Yeah, what is it that you believe is possible for you? So what your goal is could be completely different from what you believe. And that's what we broke down in the interview and I can't wait to share it with you. So we're just going to let you hang there until we get it up.
You know what I like about that is imagine the outro being our the people a part of this community sharing what their beliefs are, sharing their goal. So we ride out on what those beliefs are.
Yeah, let's do
Because
that, you guys. Get in
once you
here.
put it in the universe, right? So, and I think all of this kind of also ties into what we're going to talk about today, and what that looks like is because I've been getting a lot of, I'll call it, people who just found us, who happened to watch one video or saw one concept and wanted to talk a little bit more about that and understand how it may apply to them. And so I'm getting questions around what is compound interest, what's a Skia, like what do you mean by this terminology that you're using? And I know, as you guys are very much probably aware, once I get in my head, I go. and it becomes a fire hose of information. And so I am assuming because you watched last week, this week is going to be in this format, and I don't have to reference anything. And then my wife has to put me on pause and say, wait a minute now. Let's back that up a little bit because you went a little bit too fast over that. So what we wanted to do was let's talk about compound interest. Let's talk
Yeah.
about what it looks like to when your money is making money, and that money that your money makes more money. And then in addition, what's the impact on compound interest as it relates to compound cycles? And as you identify the compound cycles and you better understand that, then where does it apply? Like what does this look like in your quest to accomplish your goal or achieve your WTF moment? So we just wanted to back up a little bit and just kind of restate some things that may have already been stated, but just talk through them in a different fashion. And in addition, I'll reuse a slide deck that we've used in the past. We're going to talk through Emma. Emma's a lady, an example we did back in June. And I'm going to kind of bring her back to the forefront, very similar to some of the other examples that we've done. It's almost like a recap, and just kind of talk through how compound interest, or what compound interest is, and how it affects or impacts your ability to be able to accomplish your goals.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
All right. So we going to the vibe board?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you know what? I never fixed us, so I'm gonna have to fix us when we get there.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm. See?
I mean, we belong
I'm
together.
still over here with you.
You're supposed to be.
All right, hold on. Let me move
All right.
me. Let's
I'll give
move
you
us.
time to get there.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll move us over out the
I'll make this a
way.
little bit smaller. So the bottom
Okay.
line, though, around today is I just wanted to talk through, and this is based on some of the questions that I've received. And I understand it's not all fitting, but based on some of the questions that I've received around compound interest. And specifically, I've had probably 3 or 4 different conversations over the last 2 weeks where someone has said, hey, I am looking for my money to work for me. And when I ask the questions, where is your money currently? And there's been some excited individuals around these high yield savings accounts that they have. And yes, I agree that high yield savings accounts are much better than traditional savings. But if you're thinking your high yield savings account is going to put you in a position to where you can retire, I just want to talk through and make sure we understand what that impact looks like. And then as I'm talking through what some of those other vehicles are, like a secure compound interest account, like real estate, like some of the areas or non-traditional investments that you can put your money into to be able to achieve secure, uninterrupted compound interest, there's a lot of questions around, but that's not fast enough. Like,
Right.
I need my money. I'm 43, 45, I'm 48 years old, and I need to get my money compounding so that I can hit this goal. And here's the thing about compound interest, it does not move fast. I haven't said this in a long time. Compound interest, there's nothing about compound interest that's sexy. It is not it's not crypto. It's not I'm going to put my money in a position to where it's going to make me more money and then tomorrow I'm a millionaire. It just does not work that way. So I just wanted to kind of back up a little bit and kind of peel back some of those layers. And we can also use today as I'll call it a question and answer opportunity as well. So please stop me as I'm going through. But we're going to just kind of break down what is compound interest and how that affects you as it relates to your individual situation, using Emma as an example. Make
Well,
sense?
yeah, but
Mhm.
I think it's hot. I think it's hot to know that you can build wealth, and I think it's amazing to be able to double your money and compound your funds.
Right.
I think with a lot of these other systems that we have, even though it seems like instant gratification, like microwave growth, the difference is it could also shrink in the same amount of time, right?
Right.
And we need to have at like the baseline. And this is really what we're talking about. And the scope, I hope what we can share with the majority of people who watch, at least, aside from strategy, aside from the learning the pieces of the strategies, is just that the goal that we're talking about really is a baseline. It's a baseline for survival. And the fact that for, let's just call it, more than 70% of America, that survival is a goal, and that just basic survival in the future is feels like winning, because there's far too many people who are not there, or who arrive there and realize that this ain't it.
Right.
This ain't it. This isn't going to cut it. And we're going to do better. That's what we're going to do. This whole community, we're going to do better. And Bruce, he says, I wish my big group would come on this train. Go get him, Bruce. Bring him on. Go get him and bring him. Share this out with somebody and let them know this is your future. This is worth watching. And we'll try to do our best to make sure that we are providing value to you. So if you're new here and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Join us. Jump in the chat. We're friendly. Everybody's in there. I feel like fam in a hot second. But be sure to like this video as well, so that helps us get out there. All right, I'm done.
All right.
Carry on.
Thank you. So where do we want to start? So let's start first with investment versus wealth, meaning what I've, again, in having a lot of these conversations that I've had over the last few weeks, there is I'll call it an opportunity to make sure we understand where our money currently is located. Meaning, if you've got an IRA, a 401k, 403b, TSP, government 457 plan, savings account, like what type of vehicle is it? Is it an investment account, or is it a true savings account? Meaning, is it designed to generate and or build wealth? Well, what does that even mean? Well, when I'm speaking of an investment account, what I'm referencing, give me just a minute. I had to go grab my laser. What I am referencing is your money tied up in the stock market? Oh, let me get a different color. Is your money tied up in the stock market, where based off who's president, what happened, who's at war, who's not at war, whether COVID is or isn't in place, meaning is your money tied up in a vehicle that functions similar to this? Or is there an opportunity to reduce where your money is currently located and eliminate that risk? And so what I'm saying is, based off this equation, y equals a times 1 plus or minus r to the x. Is your money in a position to where you can pay yourself first, starting today, somewhere secure? What is the risk involved with the money that you currently have invested in that vehicle? Meaning, depending on what the market does or doesn't do, depending on who is or isn't president, what happens with your money? And is your money compounding? And then the last piece is, how much of your money is being, I'll call it, are you able to leverage and or use other people's money to also grow your income? So understanding where your money is and what it's doing is the first step to understanding what compound is and what it isn't. And again, compound interest. It's the ability for your money to make its own money. And the money that your money makes more money. It is very, very simple. Compound interest, you can picture it as a snowball rolling down a mountain. It's as your money continues to compound, it continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger and pick up more snow. And so, and again, the difference between an investment account, an account that builds wealth, or a true savings account is the ability to reduce or eliminate the risk. The difference between these two equations is simply the ability to reduce and or eliminate risk. The less risk you have, the more opportunity you have for your money to make its own money. And again, what we wanted to do today is use Emma. Emma's 32 years old, and she's got $50,000 in the bank. And here's the truth about Emma. And I don't know if we discussed this when I originally did this example. Emma's money wasn't actually in the bank. She had $50,000 in her closet. And it was sitting in her closet because she didn't trust the banks, which I understand.
Ooh.
Many of us
Yeah.
feel similar about the bank. And I'm not saying you got $50,000 in your closet. What I'm saying is, or in a shoebox in your closet, what I'm saying is you don't trust the bank. So therefore your money isn't where it probably should be or could be.
Right.
And so the reason she was reaching out was because I've got this $50,000 and I am about to put it in this high yield savings account. And so, and what I asked her was, okay, I see the value in that. What is the goal? So you've got this $50,000 and you're looking to put it into this high yield savings account. What is your goal with this $50,000? Well, one, I
Yeah.
don't want to lose it, which I respect. I want my money to be secure. The other is I want to compound my money to a point where when I am ready to retire, it's available to me to be able to be used. Like, that is a very, very simple ask. Like I didn't see anything. I'll call it unnecessary or out of the ordinary as it relates to that ask. I just want my money to continue to compound and put me in a position to where it can do something for me. And I'm at an age where there's no reason why that shouldn't happen. And so while and you guys should know me by now. My question behind that was pretty simple. How are you going to do that with the money sitting in the shoebox in your closet? Like, number one, how does that money sitting there? How is it able to compound and grow? Matter of fact, in the 6 or 8 months that it's been sitting there, you've probably lost money just due to inflation.
Bruh.
So,
Yeah.
but let's start here though. Before I kind of started to jump into compound interest and all of those things, I wanted to also discuss with her. Me and this board today, we're going through a thing.
Okay.
I wanted to share with her, I guess, the risk return pyramid, meaning understanding what are those vehicles where you can reduce the risk so that you don't lose the $50,000 that you have, and understanding how, as you move up that risk, the risk to your money increases. Meaning, if you look at this bottom row is where your savings accounts are. There's treasury bonds, there's insurance-based investments, US bonds, and CDs. But as you move up this pyramid, the risk to your income, the risk to your money starts to increase. And if you notice the middle of this pyramid, the middle of this pyramid is where majority of the stock market based products are. So mutual funds, stocks, bonds, securities, high grade preferred stocks are right here in the middle. And then at the top, once you get past real estate, at the top, that's where your gold, silver, your commodities are. And I would say at the very top, it's not on this sheet, but at the very top would be something like crypto. So, but the bottom line is, as you move up this pyramid, what you're doing is increasing your risk. And as you move down this pyramid, what you're doing is you're increasing your security. Meaning, what I would love is a vehicle that would not only give me the security, but also produce the income necessary for me to be able to grow my money as well. So having the growth of stock-based or stock market-based opportunities, or even real estate, but the security of a savings account would be ideal. And so,
Yeah.
and the other piece I wanted to mention here is, where is your money? Are they in traditional or are they in non-traditional investments? And what do I mean? So from a traditional perspective, again, what we're talking about in traditional is um, anything related to where we normally have our money, and that is usually stock market based accounts. We're talking mutual funds, stocks, and bonds. Those are traditional. And what I mean by that is, if you go to a Fidelity or a Morgan Stanley or an Edward Jones, what's available to you to be able to purchase to help your money grow? Those would be the traditional based investments, like those mutual funds, stocks, and bonds that they offer. And
Right.
the objective is, are there other vehicles from a non-traditional perspective that I can put my money in to also provide me with the same growth, but without the risk? Was there a question or anything?
No, you know what else is increasing and decreasing are
Mhm.
fees.
No doubt. No doubt. Who
Fees.
benefits?
Yeah. Oh
Eh,
man. I don't want to go to I don't we can skip that rabbit hole today.
all right.
I want to read this comment though from
Go for it.
Saeed,
Go for it.
because he said, "Good luck trying to get that 50K out the bank in one shot. I keep my millions under the vacuum cleaner and cleaning supplies. No one else but me ever seems to go there."
Putting money in the most obvious places normally works, and some would say in a book.
Yeah. It's a good suggestion though, although we get it. It's funny though.
So, and the other piece I wanted to highlight was a little quote from one of my uncles. Um, you guys may have met him, but Uncle Albert, from the perspective of compound interest. And let's be clear, he really didn't say this, but everyone likes to position this as though he did. And compound interest is the eighth one of the world. He who understands it earns it. And really, what he said was, compounding is the eighth wonder of the world, not compound interest. Banks took that and ran with it. But the bottom line is, I love the quote anyway, because the moral of the story here is, if you do not understand how compound interest works, I can guarantee you that someone or some business is making compound interest off you. We talk a lot about first position or second position HELOCs. Why? Because one of the largest assets we have is our home. But if we don't understand how to leverage our home, guess who is? That mortgage that you have that you've been paying 30 years on and that you end up paying double for that home, you know who's been making some really great compound interest off you? And so in the thought process is, the more you can understand how compound interest works, the more you can, I'll call it, secure your money, grow it securely so that you can actually be able to leverage it as well. So what we wanted to highlight in this instance is the rule of 72. And what the rule of 72 is saying is, you take 70, you divide the amount of interest that you're making in whatever the vehicle might be by 72, and this usually happens in any I'll call it tax deferred vehicle specifically, and I think outside of that we're talking somewhere around 120. But bottom line is, the rule of 72 works pretty well with most interest rates that you have for any investment that you're working with. And so you take that 72 divided by the interest that you're making, that tells you the number of years it takes for your money to double just one time. Why does that matter? Well, if you're looking to build on the money that you have, if you're looking to run a snowball down the hill and build as much as you can, what are we doing?
Just go with it.
Okay. If you're looking to build as much income as possible, the best way you can do that is put your money in a position to where it can double multiple times. So the amount of time it takes for that money to double once gives you a cycle, a compound cycle. The amount of time it takes for your money to double. Well, the more you can reduce the amount of time it takes for your money to double, the number of compound cycles increase, which in turn turns into more money for you. So I wanted to highlight the rule of 72. So a quick example as it relates to the rule of 72, not to make this too difficult. But let's say you've got a 9% return on an investment. And if we were to divide 72 by 9%, what do we get? Well, 72 divided by 9 is 8. So what that means is, in 8 years, it would take your money to double just one time. And so in truth, if we could reduce that amount of time and get our money to double more than once within that same period, what we can do is put ourselves in a position where we can cut those cycles in half and therefore generate more income. Why do I share this? Well, I go back to Emma. Emma's objective was to get her $50,000 working for her. And she hated banks. So that's the reason it was sitting in her closet. And what we learn about Emma is, she is not excited about putting her money in Bank of America, which would allow her savings to grow at somewhere around 0.02%. But she is looking at this high yield savings account that maybe would do a little bit better, somewhere around 4.15%. So just looking at things from the rule of 72 perspective, how much time would it take for her money to double, that $50,000, for the $50,000 to turn into 100? How long would it take for that $50,000 to double just one time if it was sitting in a regular savings account? Anyone know? Can anyone put in the chat the amount of time it would take for that $50,000 to double just one time based on a regular savings account that receives 0.02% interest?
Do I get to guess?
Absolutely, you do.
It's like 120 years.
I like that. 120 years. You are a few thousand years off.
1,020 years.
You're still a few thousand years off. And here's the part. Here's the part that I would like for any of you to do who are watching this. Don't use this number. Go to your online banking account. Pull up your own savings account. Go to the last statement that you have. Scroll down there to the bottom or wherever they show what that interest rate is on that account, because they do try to hide it from you. And do the math yourself on the dollar amount that you have in savings and the amount of time it will take for that dollar amount to double just one time. And here, let me pull out my handy dandy calculator, just make sure I'm right before I write this down, because I thought I knew the number. Now I'm second guessing myself.
Veronica says 3,600 years.
Thank you. That's the number I was looking for.
Was she right?
She is 100% right. So
Wow.
72 divided by 0.02 is 3,600 years. So if the objective is to grow your $50,000, it's going to take you 3,600 years to just allow it to double one time. In order for it to turn from 50,000 into 100,000. And just imagine what's the bank doing during that same period of time. How many times did you borrow that $50,000 back from the bank at some higher interest rate? How many times did they lend it out, return it to you specifically? Not lend it out to everyone else, but how many times did you go back to that same bank during that 3,600 year period? Like,
Yeah.
it's sad. It's sickening, actually. But if we're talking about a high yield savings account, I think we can agree a high yield savings account is better, but how much better? And you can use the 4.15, or if you just want to do quick math, what's four, a 72 divided by 4 even? So how long would it take for that same $50,000
You got to
for,
scroll up or shrink it
yep,
so we can see.
I got it.
Okay. The
How,
chat is looking like the price is right now. They're like 2901, 2988.
$1, Bob, $1.
You're right.
So 72 divided by 4.15. How about 17 years? Right. So in 17 years, it would take that $50,000 to double just one time. And remember Emma's goal. Emma's goal is to put her money in a position so that when she does reach retirement age, she's 32. So 17 plus 32 is 49. Okay, she's still not at retirement age. But her goal is to put her money in a position such that when she does hit retirement age, she has it available to her to help supplement her income. So
What's
if it
she going
takes,
to do in 17 years with only 100,000 if she had 50 today?
and your favorite topic, inflation.
Yeah.
How much will that $100,000 be worth in 17 years?
Well, let's check it out.
And so my point to all of this is there are better ways, but we have to be conscious of where's our money today? People laugh at me when I say my savings account has about $150 in it. And the reason my savings account has about $150 in it is because that's where all of my cash back stuff comes for all of my credit cards. And when it reaches a certain dollar amount, I take it out and I put it where it needs to be inside of my either my secure compound interest account or in my HELOC. But the bottom line is I don't keep money in my savings because I know that point zero, I love Bank of America, but that 0.02% isn't going to do anything for me. So what we wanted to do today is kind of just highlight some of these areas. And again, Emma's goal, her original goal when we talked, was to get a high yield savings account. So we'll talk about that. Or she's been hearing about this thing called an IUL. I think it was presented to her as a hybrid between a savings account and a secure compound interest account. And what we had peeled back the layers on is what we realized was we're just talking about an IUL. So ultimately, it's a high yield savings account compared to an IUL compared to a secure compound interest account. What would that look like? What does that do? And her objective, again, why was the money that she has sitting in her closet? Because the main goal was to not lose what she has, which I respect. So, not lose her money, be able to grow her money exponentially. And one of the challenges that I ran into with Emma was she was not very patient. So when she heard grow exponentially, that sounded like, well, in 5 years, I should have enough in my account for me to be able to go do other things. And I think the truth around compound interest is, again, it is not sexy. It takes time. But you give your money the right amount of time, it can produce the right amount of return for you. And then ultimately, she wants her money to be safe. She's looking for security.
That's not always what that means. It also means don't take my money. Okay? It means don't rip me off. I don't want to invest in a scam. I don't want to give you my money and then you take half of it just because, and then I could lose it because
I,
and here's the thing, why don't these advisors lose fees? If you put your money in a broker is making the decisions for you, why did they get to keep the money and the fees, and the money and the fees don't also decrease, right? Like, why is that not a thing? I looked it up, by the way. $50,000 in 17 years is worth 82,642. So it's not 50,000 anymore, is I guess the point. I
Right.
guess you'd have to kind of go backwards to, you'd need to have 82 for it to equal 50. That's a better way of saying it, right?
Yep. And I think Kelvin brings up a good point as well as it relates to the rule of 72. Um, just to be clear, that doubles as long as the interest rate is sustained every year. And you're absolutely correct. And so when you're talking about, I usually use as an example when I'm doing this live, I talk about my self-storage facility. I've got a self-storage facility in Bethesda, Maryland that brings us 12% return on an annual basis. And that
Mm-hmm.
12% is absolutely guaranteed, paid out in 1% increments every month. So that 12% divided by 72 divided by, 72 divided by 12, 6 years, 6 times 12. So every 6 years, my money doubles, right? And you're right. This only works if that 12% is consistent over the 6-year period. Otherwise, this number absolutely looks different. But the
Yeah.
cool part about that is your money's making money, and the money that your money makes continues to make more money. And that's that secure, uninterrupted compound interest part.
Hey, Kelvin, come over here to YouTube. It's where all the cool kids are. So we could see your comments over here.
So how was I able to see it? I'm so confused.
You know, we can see it in the back end, but the people in the chat over here on YouTube can't see it. And he's always got good points and good comments. I like him.
I agree. So what we wanted to start with is, okay, so what if Emma got herself a high yield savings account? What does that look like? She got this 4.15% interest. She took the money out of the shoebox in her closet and she committed. And we've all been served these ads. And I think the 4.15, so we did this example in June. I believe the 4.15 is even low at this point. I believe there are vehicles out there that maybe are closer to 5.15, if not above that. But we've all gotten this ad, I know I did, with the new Apple account, right? Your ability to put away money inside of a secure vehicle only so they could turn around and loan that money back to you. Basically, they're taking the same business model as Starbucks, right? The
Yeah.
Starbucks loyalty card, which in essence, people put so much money into their Starbucks card, and then Starbucks will turn around and use it as a bank and invest it and grow it and create millions of dollars off your hundreds or tens of hundreds of dollars inside of that account.
And
So
what did the users get? That's the part. Why did they overfund their gift cards? That's
right,
essentially what they were,
that's
right?
exactly what they were doing.
Why did people do this? Stars. Stars. Literally. Points. You had to have hundreds, thousands of these stars, and you would do this so that you could get a free drink. They were lending out everyone's money so that you could have a free coffee.
It goes back to Albert Einstein. If you don't understand compound interest, I guarantee you someone is making compound interest off of you, and they're not going to tell you about it.
Yeah,
So,
and they didn't have to ask your permission
oh, no
either.
doubt, no doubt. You willingly said, "Hey,
Yeah.
I get stars if I do this. Give me more stars. Here,
Oh,
take my money."
and they gave me a gold card.
Oh my gosh.
Remember that?
Not a gold card.
And I felt like I was doing myself a disservice if I didn't go. I haven't had Starbucks in, like, I don't know, 5-6 years. That was a long time ago for me. But they would give you that card, and it made you feel like you were an elite member. Yeah.
True
We
story.
kept it. Yeah, we grew Starbucks, guys. That was us. That's
So-
on us, guys. That's on us.
So as it relates to Emma, what we decided to do was take this $50,000, dump it into a secure compound interest account, and then add a monthly amount. Add $500 a month. So $50,000 one-time lump sum. Again, got that money out of the closet, got it out of that shoebox, put it to work. So we can start building some secure compound interest, adding that $500 a month, and then let it compound for 20 years. Her time horizon was, I don't want to wait till retirement age, meaning 59 and a half. So she's 32, 20 years, 52. What does this dollar amount look like? She was very happy with the potential of having $297,000 inside of her high yield savings account. And because she could open up her app and see that her money was growing on a regular basis, I think that was the other part. There was some instant gratification there that allowed her to feel comfortable and confident that her money was actually working for her. And so it's this 20-year period creating a $297,000 in that 20-year period. But here's the piece that she didn't was missing. Even though she's funding this account with dollars she's already paid taxes on, the growth is also going to be taxable as well. Meaning, yes, that's $297,000, and if you put this $297,000 in anybody's vehicle or any, I'll call it compound interest calculator, what it spits out is about $11,000 a month. So almost 12 grand a year or $1,000 a month is what that 297,000 equates to during a after that 20-year period, which is not bad, to be honest. But can you do better is the question. Is there an opportunity to take this same path, $50,000 one-time lump sum, $500 a month, put it in a different vehicle that could actually do better for you? Again, if you don't understand compound interest, guarantee you someone is making that compound interest off you. And so is there an opportunity?
I'm
Go ahead.
confused. In what world is it going to be okay that she have 11, that it's not bad to have 11 under 12K in income and it's taxable on top of that?
Let's go back to the rule of 72. Compared to where the money was sitting, it was sitting in her closet.
Okay, fair.
Or it would have been sitting in that regular savings account with Bank of America yielding 0.02%.
Okay, that's fair.
So 3,600 years.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's where the not bad comes from, at least from my perspective.
Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying, because I'm pretty sure everybody else is going, what do you mean not bad?
And so to your point,
what show are we watching? Because this does not sound on brand.
Right. And to your point, the pieces that weren't addressed it becomes a taxable dollar amount. And she's not really, you know how we educate people on this channel, she's not getting multiple uses out of the same dollar, right? And is that enough? Is that $12,000 a year enough as it relates to income when when she hits retirement age? And where's the leverage? Where's her money making money, and the money that her money makes more money, and also bringing in leverage elsewhere, creating that arbitrage situation that allows you to exponentially grow your money? Like, where's that opportunity? And then ultimately, if something were to happen to her, if something were to happen to her and this money was sitting in that account, how protected is she?
Veronica says, who is it? Is it the farmer? It's the banker.
So next step is, okay, then what if we looked at just a basic or a regular IUL? How would that be any different? And this IUL that I'm kind of sharing is a little bit different than what we've talked about in the past, because this IUL specifically is one of those hybrid IULs with not a 0% floor, but a 2% floor. I think it's 2% floor and a 9% ceiling, if I remember it correctly. And so the thought process is, we take this same dollar amount and just put it into an IUL, whether it's Doug Andrews and his Laser Fund, a Kaizen, just a properly designed IUL to allow her to build wealth using that same $50,000 lump sum and $500 a month. What does that look like? And again, I'm moving pretty fast through this because I want to make sure we get through it. But the bottom line is, what are those results inside of a vehicle like this? And we had a video that accompanied this dollar amount, which proved or showed there would be about $409,000 available in tax-free cash value for her to be able to leverage and use as income at the end of that 20-year period. So when you run that $409,000 over 20 years, what does that math look like? Looks like about $46,000, almost $47,000 in annual tax-free income. Is that better than that high yield savings account? Kind of a no-brainer, right? We're talking, what is that, almost almost 4 times the income from a high yield savings account compared to a vehicle like this. And again, this is an IUL. So it's a properly designed, properly structured IUL in the form of a max funded option B IUL. So making sure that who created this for you and how or what the details are and how this 409,000 is created, all of that matters. But by age 52, we're talking about 46.6 thousand in tax-free income. Pretty powerful.
It's not though. And I don't mean to be negative, Nelly, Nancy, or whatnot, but it's not, because this is why we have a retirement crisis currently. Because, and I was just talking about this earlier, like people in the 1980, since this number's fresh in my head,
Mm-hmm.
if you made $30,000 in 1980 per year, right? And let's say the goal was to make sure that you had the same lifestyle when you're retiring. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, I need to make $30,000 for the rest of my life. Why weren't we mathing back then in this way? Here's what they did. They got to 2024 and they said, oh, you need $110,000 for that lifestyle, sir. And they're like, well, that's like 3 years of my retirement. I can't do that. No, I'm not going to do it. Well, then you're going to have to go live at Camping World in the tents with other people, because that's what's $30,000 a year. It's too late by the time you do something like this. So you got to do the math all the way through to see the impact that it has, right?
Right.
Are you guys, we're not having a Camping World. We're not doing that. So we have to say at this moment, this is non-negotiable for us. We're not going to do it. We're only going to camp because we want to, not because we have to. So we're not going to go.
And
We're
as
not
it relates
going.
to an IUL, understanding, hey, okay, I see that this is a vehicle that can produce more income for me and it can be tax free. That's awesome. But what are the opportunities? What are the challenges? Like, how simple is it to have a product like this? Well, the truth is, you do have to be approved. This is life insurance. What you're purchasing, that $50,000 plus a $500 a month, is buying a certain amount of life insurance. So you do have to qualify for that certain amount of life insurance. But how difficult is that? Is the question. Meaning, what are the that process? How detailed is that process as it relates? Well, look at it this way: the life insurance company is treating you as an asset. So, in any asset that we buy, whether it's a home or a vehicle, don't we all walk around that vehicle to make sure that it can perform the way it's supposed to? Before we buy a home, don't we get that home inspected?
We sure
So
do.
so
Yes.
getting approved for a life insurance based product is really the same thing. The life insurance company saying you're the asset, but before I match a dollar against this asset, I just want to make sure there's no roof leaks. Is that not fair?
Yeah,
And so,
isn't it fair that you should have to do that with your employer 401k though too? Isn't it fair to know who's managing those funds? Wouldn't it be fair?
and I think that's one of those pieces that irritates me, because there's a lot of if you go and jump out into these internet streets, there's a lot of back and forth around life insurance based products and what they can or cannot do for you. There's a lot of angst going back and forth. Wouldn't the 401k have changed by now if we took that same approach
Yeah.
with our traditional retirement based products?
Yeah, but why hasn't it? Be-
Conditioning.
because who benefits? That's what you
That's it.
normally would say.
But it's both. Meaning, we've been conditioned to accept what Edward Jones, Morgan Stanley, Fidelity provides to us. We accept the fact that they are the ones that are educated with the series whatever licenses. They are fiduciaries, per se, and
Mm-hmm.
they have our best interest at heart. So surely they would not be ripping us off. And as it relates to the education or the knowledge around how do these vehicles actually function? Like, who actually understands how the 401k functions? Well, who would benefit if you did have that information? Because if you did have that information, you would know better. You would do better. But the
Mm-hmm.
less you know, the more hey, I don't know how this works. I just know my father put his money in it. His father put his money in it. And so therefore I'm going to do the same. I've
Yeah.
been conditioned to follow this path.
Yeah. And
And the objective here is just to create or generate a different path. Meaning, yes, you do have to be approved for life insurance. But what that means is you get to have life insurance. You get to be approved. You get to be used as an asset and then leverage that asset to actually build wealth and income. Where's the harm in that? And then again, it's not sexy. It takes time. Growth inside of a life insurance based product absolutely takes time. So that first year, you may not break even. That second year, you may not break even. But in a properly designed IUL, by year 3, year 4, year 5, your money should be making money. You should be hitting a compound cycle. So if you have a cash value life insurance or product or some type of life insurance based product, ask yourself, when do you break even inside that product? And then the last piece is leverage. Understanding, I guess not the last piece. There are the fees. The fees inside of a cash value life insurance policy compared to the fees inside of your traditional retirement accounts. Let's lay all of these fees out on the table and let's understand what that looks like. Because again, it all goes back to structure, it all goes back to design. And then that last piece is leverage. How much
wait.
leverage do you have inside of the product? Yes, ma'am.
You because we wanted to go back to basics today, because we have so many new viewers who are asking questions, and we forgot, because we've just been continuing on, like building upon, right?
Right.
There was a lot of people who were like, wait a second, like I'm missing the basics. Where's this explanation for this stuff? And so that's why I think tonight is so important, is that we are just like bringing everybody back on, bringing everybody on the same level, or trying to anyway. But this part right here, because when they do go to look at their policy, they're not going to find their fees. Why? They probably won't anyway.
Yeah, and I think that's a red flag, right? So if you go back to your policy and you pull out that illustration, the first thing you should actually go for is, hey, just ask. Where's the fees page? Where can you show me what the dollars coming, how my premium is being used and what's impacting my premium and how that impacts my cash value, meaning what are the fees associated with my account? And all cash value life insurance policies have a fee page. It's just a question of whether or not it's been provided to you. And 9 times out of 10, if you don't see that fees page, the proper question to ask is what's being hidden? What is it that you don't want me to see? And for the most part, that's usually the commission, because the commission is absolutely located in that number. All cash value life insurance policies have the same fees. There's a premium charge, meaning the life insurance company is going to want a certain portion of their money. Meaning, once you contribute this premium, there's a certain portion of it that's going to go back to the life insurance company to pay for their expense. It's the cost of doing business. So all of them have a premium charge. All of them have an expense charge, meaning there's people who are doing the underwriting. There's people who are doing the health exams. There's a guy that sold it to you. So there's these inherent fees inside of your policy that these individuals also have to be paid for their services. So that expense charge is the second. And then the last one is the cost of insurance. As you get older, it costs more to insure you. And so when you buy, let's say you're putting in $500 a month for $150,000 in life insurance, there's a cost. There's a cost to insure you based off your age, your health, and your insurability. And so based off those factors, there's a cost of insurance associated as well. So there's three pieces here. And the key is, do you have a policy? Do you have a properly designed policy where those 3 fees are as little as possible? You're paying the least amount possible as it relates to those fees. Cost of insurance, not much you can do about that one. Premium charge, not much you can do about that one. But the expense charge, there's a lot of room to be able to structure that expense charge so that you're not being hit with whatever that dollar amount would be.
We have a comment.
Let's do it.
If you want, Calvin says, on a practical note, even if you don't break even by year 2, those policies that do show 90% cash value on year 1 isn't so bad, especially if you have an investment with a big spread to invest in with that policy loan. And this is the rabbit hole I always go down. This is a trigger topic for me, because Calvin, tell me what kind of big spread you would have to be guaranteed in order for this to make sense if you have 90% of your cash value that you put in year 1. I think a lot of people get caught up in this, and I think it sounds cool until you realize what it's doing down the road. And the 90% just sounds like a bigger number. This is like that short math, right? That we were dealing with, trying to explain when we were talking about the HELOC versus the first position HELOC versus like even a 15-year
Right.
mortgage, right?
15-year versus 30-year versus a first position or a second position HELOC. Right.
It's that a lot of people were saying that the lower interest rate was just better off the top. Didn't matter how many years, it didn't matter what the terms were. It was just, why would you trade a
2.5% mortgage compared to a 9% first position HELOC? Like the
right?
math, just the numbers alone don't make sense.
And
Right.
it's the association with those numbers that people just stopped doing the math, and they were like, nope, do not pass, do not collect $200. You're not, no, shutting it down. We're not doing it anymore. And you can't have a conversation past that. But when you saw the math, well, we're doing the math right now. That's our whole situation. If we wanted to, we could have had this house probably paid off by now. We don't want to because we leverage it, right? But this is why we are more than 15 years ahead of our mortgage. This is why, because that math over time and long term. When you do the math long term, it does. It's just difficult to have a conversation unless you have the right circumstances in order to take advantage of these 90% available cash value in year one. You got to have the right situation. And a lot of people are not going to be jumping in the real estate market if they have no experience and this is not something that they're familiar with doing. Imagine you think you're about to do a fix and flip, because I don't know where you're going to be buying a real estate to be able to put it back in your policy before it implodes, unless you're doing something like a fix and flip. If you're doing a fix and flip and you are brand new in the market, then you have to be able to assess risk and you have to be able to be prepared for that risk. You don't just willy-nilly jump into these things, especially if you don't have experience. I think the majority of people, the majority of investors will say their first flip was a nightmare because they didn't know what to look for and they had no idea what they were buying, and it ended up costing them. And so that spread that they thought that got them all starry-eyed in the first place never happened. But they lost a lot of time. And they lost a lot of time where their money could have been growing too, and it was all tied up in escrow and other places. So I do hear you on why this sounds so attractive, but I just encourage anybody who feels like this 90% in the first year, because it's highly marketed and it makes it seem like somehow it's almost the same thing as having money in your mattress, right?
Right. Right.
So that's where someone like Emma, in this example, it would be attractive to her because she just wants to have the control over it. You can have, it's not this or that. You can have this and that, but you have to be willing to move past in the conversation. So, and Calvin, this is why I adore you, because I know you're going to do the math because you're dope like that.
But but in addition to that, though, this is where we just have to peel back a few more layers, because it also starts with, what's the goal? What's the objective? Because Emma may be different from Kelvin, meaning what I'm looking to do, the reason I need 90% access to 90% of the cash value that or 90% of the money that I'm putting into this cash value life insurance policy, is because I have this opportunity available to be able to create this spread and build wealth. So if that's the goal, if your goal is to be able to access those funds in year one, or within 45 days to be able to go put that money to work, then you're absolutely right. There are policies or structures out there that can allow you to be able to do that. But if your goal, and then going back to Emma, if your goal is, I want to put my money in a position so that it can produce income for me at a later date, you're right. If I don't have the knowledge base, like if I was convinced to get this 90-10 designed policy so that I can have access to my cash value, but I have no home for that cash value to go when I have access to it, all I'm doing is putting my policy in a position to where I am increasing those compound cycles, where a policy that may have been breaking even somewhere around year 5, the minute I take that 90% out and go use it, I just turn that 5 years into 11 years. And so again, if the goal is to be able to produce income, how far am I pushing myself away from being able to achieve that retirement income? So it's not a one size fits all. It goes back to what's the goal?
Yeah. Well, and when you say when you ask what's the goal, this is why we spent like 2 weeks on the goal, answering that question, because if the goal is not defined, it's the same thing as saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. The goal isn't to find out how far you got at the end. That's not a goal. That's not a goal. And I think we're okay, because this has been a standard for a long time, to just, it's almost like the tooth fairy, Santa Claus type of situation, right? We're okay with not knowing where we're going to land. We're just going to run as fast as we can and then jump, hoping that we have enough air and enough velocity and science to move us forward. You guys know what I'm talking about. And we just land in the sand. Trajectory. That's still science. All right. I'm killing it over here. Be quiet, Donnell.
Always
we are just learning where it is that we're going to land in the sand. And then somebody else comes in and they measure it. And then they say, not going to be enough.
Right.
Right.
And you learn that it's not going to be enough too late.
Or they say, it's just barely enough, but since we have to tax it, we got to throw you back, right?
Right.
There's a penalty for something that you did in this process. And it just shouldn't be like that. And I think that's what I'm most passionate about, is we can't, right now, we don't have the control over those things. But what we can have control over is our plan. We can have control over the things that we believe. We can have control over what it is that we learn and the things that we determine as non-negotiables. Emma over here has not determined in her initial strategy what was non-negotiable for her. Matter of fact, she did. She said it was non-negotiable for her to put her money in the bank.
That is absolutely what she said.
Yeah, she did. Her decisions and her behavior was saying that was non-negotiable. So if she can make decisions at that level to say, this is non-negotiable for me, then she can say, what's also going to be non-negotiable is that I am not going to be financially secure. And I'm going to get there as fast as I can, because I have a career, I have a job, I have someone else that cuts my paycheck for me. So if they take that away, I don't want to be dependent upon that. And so if I can get there faster, even if I continue to keep working, right? If I can get there faster, then that's what's non-negotiable for me. So she doesn't want the bank to have control over her money. Why would she want an employer to have control over her money, right?
Get self-directed. She wants control over her money. She wants to put her money in a position to where she can actually create and generate her own WTF moment. That is getting self-directed.
Yes. All right. Continue.
So last but not least, then what would it look like if her money was sitting in a secure compound interest account? And I think before I go over the visual, I think the easiest thing to do is, let's see, what does that look like?
Okay.
And I know you might have to move some things around.
Yeah, I moved.
Producer.
It's okay. It's all good.
So again, she's 32 years of age. And today is meant to be very high level. So I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but she's 32 years of age. The objective is to allow this thing to compound for the next 20 years, putting $50,000 in as a lump sum, $500 a month. What does that look like? What does that look like over time? And so over that, and I guess I can make this bigger. There we go. I'll do it like that. Over that 20-year period, how much income is able to be produced out of a vehicle like this? How about $72,000 tax-free for the rest of your life? Versus, what was it? I think it was $400,000 or somewhere around there. And how much cash value? I'm sorry, the income was right around 32,000, but the amount of cash value was somewhere around 400,000. So compared to 625,000 in cash value and 72,000 in income. And again, this is a life insurance based product. So what does that mean? while you would have contributed 170,000, you're purchasing $1.3 million in life insurance. So the question that you have to ask yourself is this a dollar amount that she would be able to qualify for? 32 years of age, $50,000 lump sum, putting away $500 a month. Would she qualify for 1.3 million? We would hope so. And then in addition, as this dollar amount continues to grow based off, and as she continues to put in this 170,000 where she's making somewhere around 7% on this dollar amount, and then the leverage kicks in starting in year 3. So she's leveraging about $1.2 million from the life insurance company. The growth between these two dollar amounts is what gives her this cash value. And so if God forbid, if something were to happen to her after or around that age of 52, she'd be leaving a legacy of 2.7 million. So if we compare this to all of these other vehicles, again, it's a no-brainer, but it's understanding structure. It's understanding, why is this even possible? What is it about this vehicle that allows this $50,000 and this $500 a month to be able to produce this $625,000 over that 20-year period, and that annual tax-free income of 72.2%? My point in sharing this is this: it's about where. It's not just not about putting your money in a place so that it can work for you. It's understanding, what is that that equation that you're putting your money in. Meaning, is it an investment equation where it's tied to traditional investments that are tied up in the market? Is it a secure compound interest account? But is that secure compound interest account filled with, or are you able to check all the boxes with all of the variables? Meaning, I know you can pay yourself first. I know you can put you can pay yourself today somewhere secure, get your money compounding, but it's that leverage factor. It's this factor that makes this product different. It's this factor that allows you to be able to put your money in a position to where you can generate, what is that, double the amount of income compared to just a properly designed cash value life insurance product. And again, the rules or the factors that are at play are really the same. It's, you have to be approved. You have to be committed. And this is a strategy, not an account. Meaning, a secure compound interest account properly designed, you can't buy an MPI policy. You can't buy a laser fund policy. You can't buy an infinite banking policy. What you're buying is a properly designed cash value life insurance product. And the strategy that is being applied is a premium finance strategy, also called MPI. So it's understanding that in order to have a product like this, in order to have a vehicle like this, it has to be properly designed. It has to be managed. So where you get it, who you get it from, how it's structured, are all factors that have to play a role. And the best thing that you can do, especially, and I'm hoping that this is what we're providing, the best thing you can do is put yourself in a position where you're absorbing this information, so that when you're having that conversation with life insurance person X or life insurance female Y, or whatever the case may be, you can actually ask some of these same questions around, how is this product structured? How is it designed to produce the income that we're looking for? And what are these factors that we should be paying attention to so that we can achieve the maximum amount of income? Yep. Just want to make sure I had anything else there. So any questions around any of that?
Well, I do think what I was thinking you were going to do next, so I didn't see this, is compound cycles.
Yep. Right there.
Okay. All right, cool.
And as it relates to compound cycles, it goes back to the rule of 72. And I think I'm covering the compound cycles, but as it relates to compound cycles, it's really about the rule of 72 still. And that is, hey, we are all born with a certain amount of compound cycles. Meaning, the time we were born, there's only so many compound cycles till we hit that retirement age. And yeah, I get it. We can work beyond 70, but my point is, we're all designed with a certain number. I mean, we're all born with a certain number of compound cycles. And so the question is, where are you? So she happens to be here, which means if she's putting her money in a vehicle that actually compounds every 5 years, she has about 8 compound cycles left. Where are you? Matter of fact, what prompted me to want to even do cover this topic today was the people that I was talking to were between the ages of 43 and 52. 43 to 52. So if you're anywhere in the middle of here, you got roughly 5, maybe 6 compound cycles left. Where's your money today? Do you understand how your money is compounding? Where should your money be? And what are those actions you need to take to get your money compounding for you? Because if the objective is to put your money in a position to where it's generating income, you also have to be conscious of how much you have to put in play in order to make that happen. Meaning, you've got a few choices. You can either give a small amount of money a long period of time, and that's my kids. I've got 20-year-olds. They can take $200 a month, give that $200 a month 40 years, and they will be millionaires by 60. Not a problem. But if you are 45, 48, 52, you putting away $200 a month inside of a secure compound interest producing vehicle that is properly designed, properly structured, because you're not giving your money a whole lot of time before you need it, it is not going to produce the income that you want. So either you're going to give a small dollar amount a long period of time, or if your time is shorter, you have to be more aggressive with that dollar amount. And that's where a $50,000 lump sum comes into play. I had a conversation today with the lady who has 2 rentals. And she had reached out because what she's looking to do is put her money to work for her. And one of her biggest concern is she's still renting. So she lives in an apartment, but she has 2 rentals. And the objective is to build income. But the conversation we kept having was about her buying a home. So which one is it? What's the goal? Is the goal to put your money in a position to where you start building income? Or is it to put yourself in a position to where you now have this 30-year mortgage and we now have to focus on paying that off? Which one is it? And I'm not saying there's a wrong answer here. It's just being very conscious of what the actual goal is and what are the actions required to be for us to be able to hit this goal. Meaning, if the goal is income, should we be worrying about trying to buy a home today or taking advantage of some of the equity that we have in these rental properties to be able to put that money to work so that we can put ourselves in a position to not just get a home, but put ourselves in a position to where we're generating income and are able to also buy a home if that's a part of the goal. But it's getting that money in a position so that it can work for you, produce income for you, so that you can make those types of decisions. So it's all about peeling back the layers on the goal, paying attention to how many compound cycles you have, and how aggressive you want to be able to hit that goal. Again, small dollar amount, long period of time, a larger dollar amount for a shorter period of time.
Okay, How to Invest for Yourself says, if I put $1,000 per month for 10 years, how much could I pull safely every month if I want to fire or barista fire? And I like this term. I was like, wait, what does that mean? And I thought, does that mean you're a barista, but you're retired? Well, that's essentially what it does mean. So,
Yep. So
all right,
how old are you?
$1,000.
How to invest for yourself? How old are you?
Yeah, how old are you in this equation that you're wanting to know? That's we need more information.
Because I can make some assumptions. I can put you at 40, and you said 10 years, which would be 50,
44.
and you said 44.
Yeah.
See, I be knowing, man.
Yeah.
44 till age 54. You said 10 years, and here's where I go back to $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month is not a small dollar amount, but is $1,000 a month large enough for you to be able to produce the income you want? And so, 10 years, you said $1,000 a month, correct?
Yep.
$1,000 a month. What does that look like? So in 10 years, you would have about $17,000 tax-free available to you. You would have contributed about $120,000. You would have leveraged about $265,000, creating cash value of about $168,000, and you would have put yourself in a position to where you could take income of somewhere around almost $18,000 a year, tax-free, for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the piece that I like about this number.
Yeah.
Now, while $1,000 a month, which is 12 grand a year, may not be enough to retire off, but think about what you just did here. Your $1,000 a month has now put you in a position to where at age 54, you have about 18 grand available to you. Let's say you were to take this $18,000 and put it in your checking account. If you had a machine sitting in your garage that its whole purpose and design was you put in $1,000 and it spits out 18 grand. That's all it did. Would you ever stop that machine from functioning? Would you ever stop that machine from running? Meaning, maybe you can't retire off $18,000 a year. I'm not saying that you can't, but you have a vehicle now that's available to you that allows you to pay bills, supplement what you currently have, and in addition, if you wanted to, you could take $12,000 out of this number and put it here. What am I saying? You can use the income being generated from this vehicle to make premium payments. If you were to do that, what you just did is you now put yourself in a position to fund this till 55. And when you do that, that gives you more income available to you. My point is, there's no reason to turn this off if the machine itself can make the payments for you. And so therefore, what does this look like if you allow this $1,000 a month just to compound longer? You give your money time, you're putting yourself in a position where it can produce a significant amount of income. So a lot of times this is just about getting started, putting your money in a position to be working for you. And as you see it working, as that cash value starts to build, you start saying to yourself, wait a minute, how can I get even more money into this? And if I can put myself in a position where the amount of income that it's generating from this vehicle can actually pay my daily bills, this is where reverse velocity banking comes into play. If I can generate enough income so that at a minimum, my daily expenses are taken care of. I'm not saying you can retire. I'm not saying you can go on be on some island somewhere and ride off into the sunset. I'm saying if this vehicle was just producing enough to pay your standard expenses.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
We Brady budgeted. Okay, he didn't ask this question, but I want to ask it for him.
I've got so many bad things going on in my head with you being on top of me, but I am not going to say any of them. I did not say any of them. I didn't, but I'm just telling you, it was just the thought. This is a
family-friendly show, sir.
And that's why I didn't say anything that I was thinking, but I had to share it. Otherwise, I was going to get distracted. So we're back.
Insane. Okay, we're starting over again. I like
it when you're next to me, though.
Okay. And we're new again. Okay. Hi.
Hello.
Can you do for how to invest for yourself? Can you, instead of 44, can you go down to 24? Just do the same 10 years, same $1,000, 44.
44.
Yeah.
So from 44 till 45, is that what you said?
I'm going to go small over here so you behave yourself.
Why are you so little?
I'm just going to be little over here for you to behave yourself. Okay, 24
24
34, 10 years.
Okay. So, well, let's go back. So let's go back to 44 to 54 so you can see the difference. So 44.
Okay.
You didn't ask for this, but just want to make sure.
Yeah, is this
44 to 54.
Do you guys not want to see this?
44 to 54 produces 17,880. 44 to 54.
Yeah.
Compared to 34 to 44, right?
Okay, but you're going to go down to 24 though, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. 24 to 34.
Yeah.
24 to 34.
Mm-hmm. So
same 10-year period, same dollar amount, but the difference is the cost of insurance for
we can't see because the box is in the way.
Because I didn't want to show it yet.
Oh, ooh.
34.
Secrets.
So 24 to 34, same 10-year period, same $1,000 a month. The difference between these two calculations, a 44-year-old to 54, the cost of insurance for that 44-year-old compared to the cost of insurance for this 24-year-old is the only difference in this equation. Same dollar amount, same 10 years. Notice it's about $1,000 or maybe almost $1,000 difference. And if you were to look at the amount of life insurance being purchased, the amount of life insurance being purchased is more, meaning I'm younger. So I have more life insurance available. The cost of that life insurance is less, which allows me to generate more cash value. And in addition, the more cash value I have generates more income. Now, it's not a huge number, but the reason this is important is because the sooner you start, the better. And then for those of us who may consider themselves aged out of a product like this, do you have insurable interest elsewhere where you can leverage someone else within your lineage to be able to create a vehicle like this? And I don't know if that's where you were going, but that is exactly where I went.
Okay, well, it's really about leveraging. Gosh, these glasses hurt my face. Leveraging, finding where your leverage is. That's what I'm talking about. And so if you're older, the cost of insurance is going to be higher. However, if you have someone who is around the 20-year mark, because you can continue to draw like you were talking about, but then this way you have more leverage and you have it for longer. That's all I was wanting to show. Here's the other thing. I don't think 10 years is fair because of a compound cycle. So you have to at least have two. So whatever it is, at least look at two compound cycles inside of a machine.
So
That's what I think.
and that's where you have to back up. So you have to better. So the question you ask behind that is, then what are the compound cycles inside of a vehicle like this? Meaning, how long does it take for your money to double just one time? And here's what we've learned. Again, this is not reality based; it's more data based, and that is what we've learned is the compound cycles inside of a vehicle like this is somewhere around 5 to 6 years. So what that means is every 5 years your money doubles. So if you're wanting to get the maximum amount of income, every 5 to 6 years rather, your money doubles. So if you're trying to get the maximum amount of income, just know if you're starting out with $100,000, that $100,000 looks more like two in 5 to 6 years. So if you're trying to get the maximum amount of income, you want to give your money the best chance to do so. So the amount of compound cycles you have to allow it to do that is how that will be achieved. So no, you're spot on.
Well, and a lot of people, again, because we're talking about it in the chat, like what does FIRE mean? What is it an acronym for? Financial independence, retire early. This is a concept that a lot of people follow because their whole point is to retire early. Hold on. We're gonna come back here for a second. The whole point about retiring early is not just that you have enough to survive. That ain't it. It's not it,
No.
fam. We gotta have more than just enough to survive. So if you are looking on YouTube, this is a great assignment for everybody, right? Like just do it in droves, and then we'll come back and we'll report our findings. Jump in the group, we'll talk about it. Go search for what this FIRE content is and what they're talking about inside of here, because a lot of these concepts include you might as well be extreme couponing too on the same in the same week that you are talking about how to researching the FIRE movement, you also might be wanting to join those extreme coupon groups. And the reason I'm saying this, it's not a dig, it's the honest truth. You have to be on such a budget that you're not even really planning for inflation. And here's how you know. If you're planning for inflation and it's based off of a percentage, that's okay. That's a start, right? That's what the calculators all use, is just the percentage. But don't forget that eggs didn't they
Didn't
weren't tied.
follow
Yeah,
that percentage. Right.
right. What else? Toilet paper,
Cars,
cars. Yeah,
used
there's
cars.
right. There are so many things that do not, and we don't have control. No one has control over what these prescription medication, right? None of us have control over what this is. So if we're only planning for this average of 3%, then it's going to be extreme couponing to try to make it through when you have budgeted based on whatever you think that is. That's why I'm saying the basis is not enough, and it's time to pull it together. Like, we have got to form communities that support each other in this direction so that we can do more than make it. We have to, right? We deserve it. You deserve it. Everybody deserves to thrive, not just stay alive. And I think we have the basis. We've seen what's happened already. We're old enough now. We saw what we saw. Let's just say it. We saw what we saw. We can't unsee it. Well, we could do something about it, can't we? Can't we, guys?
And I think what I love about what it is we talk about as well is these are things that once you see them, you can't unsee them. So it's also, there hopefully you walk away with questions to ask the people who have a little bit more control over your money than they should. And the idea is the better questions you can ask them, the sooner we can all get to better answers and have better vehicles in front of us that don't, I'll call it, um, um, benefit those who provide the vehicles, but better yet, benefit us. And so it's just putting all of us in a better position to where we can just simply ask better questions. Why?
Yeah.
Why is that? Who benefits from that? What does it mean when you do that? How is this thing structured? What are the fees? What do those fees consist of? Who gets paid with those? It's just all of a sudden, hopefully what it does is it forces people to, one, become educated, meaning those who are providing those vehicles to you to
Yeah.
become better educated. But in addition, I think that's how we also make changes. That's how things start to evolve. Because the cash value life insurance conversation that I am waiting to have isn't the which one is better than the other. It's the conversation around why aren't they all the same? Why don't they all function this way? If having leverage inside of a vehicle makes that vehicle more powerful, why can't my whole life policy do it? What are those actions that need to happen in order for that to take place? So it's not one is better than the other. It's, what do we need to do to bring everything up to this space? That 401k is actually an amazing tool. The 401k is not the problem. The problem is the company that is holding your 401k. It's the custodian that has your 401k is the problem. They are the ones that are pillaging your retirement and putting you in a position to where you can only take 4% out of it. It's because it's riddled with 2/3 fees. You add back those 2/3 fees back into your account. You think your income is still 4%? But until we are having these better discussions with the people that actually hold these items, until we start moving away from the 401k and those who created the 401k go, what's happening? Oh, wait a minute. Fidelity is not making as much money as they did last year. For two companies, Vanguard and I think it's Vanguard and Fidelity, have about 58% of all retirement dollars in this country. And that dollar amount is somewhere around 40 trillion. So the majority of all retirement dollars are sitting with two companies. And yeah, we can go down the rabbit hole of who owns those two companies, because I think it's the same company. But the bottom line is there's two places that you have most of us have our retirement dollars, and they have 58% of all retirement dollars in this country. Do they care about what those fees look like and the impact that it's having on us? Until we start moving away from these companies and putting our money in a different position so that we can, again, get self-directed, have more control, and again, have better discussions, ask better questions, we're going to be in the position that we're in. We're going to be still talking about why I have to deal with the 4% rule.
Exactly.
That was legitness. Yeah, it was.
Okay, we have really good questions in here.
Let's do it. Good
Okay.
questions.
Peaky Blinder. Can we just call you Peaky? Are we
I
going
like
to
Peaky.
nicknames? Okay. So, how about if someone is expecting a substantial liquidity event profits from investments? Can one roll a portion of said profits into policy after it is started, or are there limitations?
So depends on I'll call it the profits from that investment. Meaning, if they are dollars that are in a qualified account, meaning like coming from a 401k or an IRA, can you roll that investment into a life insurance based product? You can't without being taxed and penalized. But if we're talking about a normal fix and flip or some type of real estate investment that's been done with after tax dollars or use some earned income to be able to create, can you put that money inside of a vehicle like this? 100%. All day long. I go back to the lady I was speaking to earlier this week who with the two rentals.
Oh,
I think what she's deciding to land on is she's doing the math around, should I use the rental income to build a secure compound interest account, or should I get rid of tenants, toilets, and trash, liquidate both of those rentals, dump all of it into a secure compound interest producing vehicle? I think those are the things that she's in the process of weighing. Yes, ma'am. You're about to say something.
yeah. Hey, can you guys put a Q in front of your questions? And that way it helps me better identify it. Okay. We have Heartstring Speak. At what age is a Skia no longer a viable option? Is there a point where it simply would make sense, especially beyond age 55, if available monthly cash flow for a vehicle like this is no more than 1K?
Yeah,
Great
I'd say,
question.
yeah, absolutely. I'd say somewhere around that, I'll call it 63 range and up is where we really want to assess, does this make sense? And here's why. I go back to compound cycles. How many compound cycles do you have from age 60 on? And are you okay with allowing your money the amount of time necessary to produce the returns required? And in addition, what are we buying here? Like when you're putting in your premium your premium payments, what is that going towards? It's going towards life insurance. So now it's how insurable are you at these ages as well? So it's not just compound cycles, it's also your ability to qualify. And yeah, let's say you're 60 plus years old and you're super healthy. Can you get a vehicle like this? You absolutely can. But what's the bare minimum? That bare minimum is right around 10 times your age. Is 10 times your age, 60, 630, $650 a month. Is that a sufficient dollar amount for you to be able to start building income over time, given whatever that compound cycle would be? Probably not. But if you're talking, hey, I'm 60 years old, I understand I have a limited amount of compound cycles, and I've got liquidity available to me to be able to super fund a product like this. Would that make sense? Can we make that math make sense? We absolutely can. And I absolutely have examples where it made sense for a 62, 63, 65-year old to have a policy like this. But I also have the exact same examples where it did not make sense for a 62, 63, 65-year old to have a product like this. So it's not a one size fits all, but it's absolutely dependent upon what you're thinking of contributing, how long you're wanting this to compound, and also your insurability. And a lot of times when we run into people with, I'll call it around this age, and we're assessing whether or not it makes sense to put them in a vehicle like this, we start looking at insurable interest, meaning, do they have kids? Do they have grandkids? Truly, what's the goal? Is the goal income? Is the goal legacy? And so, as we kind of peel back the layers on what the true goal is, maybe it might make sense for to do a policy like this on your adult kids,
Yeah.
and then have a trust own those policies, and any income generated kind of rolls back up into the trust. And if you, as that 60 plus year old individual, owns that trust, guess who is now receiving that income? So there's many different levers I'd say to pull here to assess what does or doesn't make sense.
Yep. They're asking, can you run the numbers, please?
For a 60 plus year old, am I making up my own example, or did I miss something
I
on
think
what the numbers were?
just to show an example of what doesn't make sense.
Yep.
And in the meantime, while you're getting that up, I'm gonna show this comment from Rob.
Mhm.
Also because I'm nosy and there's a picture of him and his wife and I want to see it. Oh, they're cute. The problem is that folks preparing selling the life insurance policy taking advantage of people. We saw that when
No
we
doubt.
renewed my whole life policy. And if you don't know what you're looking for, too, right? It's not the don't ask, don't tell policy. It's literally you got to know with some of this stuff, and especially if you're looking at why the insurance industry is booming right now, then you'd understand it on a different level too. So, all right, let's go over to the calculator.
And I want to believe everyone has each other's best interests at heart. I really do want to believe that. So, because I think
Yeah,
it's twofold. I think there are those who this is a money grab. So I see an opportunity to be able to poorly design a policy. You got what you asked for, which was life insurance, and I got what I asked for, which was a commission. There is absolutely that available, but there's also those who really don't know. They don't know how to structure this. It's being
right.
structured somewhere else. And so they thought they were providing you a vehicle that is leverageable, or you have access to your cash value to do the things you want, when in truth, you actually don't. And so that's where being armed with the right questions to ask matters, because you want to identify whether or not the person that is designing this for you really understands what it is they're talking about. And two, you want to understand what are the fee, what is the fee structure inside of a product like this, to understand when you do break even, to make sure you're not being ripped off. So I think it's kind of twofold. And so as I just arbitrarily picked an age, 62 years old, putting away. I started with the $10,000, 10 times the age per month. So 62 years old, 10 times that age is $620. So if you were to put in the bare minimum, $620 a month, what would that look like? So we're talking about $8,000 in annual income. Let me scroll up a little bit. $8,000, $8,300 rather in annual income. You would have put in about $74,000. You would have leveraged about 68,000. You'd have cash value of somewhere around 95. So notice your cash value is growing. The issue is that sufficient enough income? And that was only 10 years. So that was 62 to 72. So obviously you do have some room left. And what are you purchasing? You're purchasing about $100,000 in life insurance. And God forbid, if something were to happen to you around that 70 plus age, it's about 319. So there's nothing wrong with this product or this policy in this form. It's just the question is this sufficient enough income? What is the goal? If the goal is income, is there an opportunity to, instead of doing this 10-year $620 on you, maybe it might make more sense to use your 30-year-old daughter who lives with you, and for that same 10-year period, 30. For that same 10-year period, take that same $620 and put it in a vehicle on her. And if we kind of educate her a little bit better about this, maybe she can see the power in, you know what? I've got a decent job. I understand my 401k, because of the 2/3 in fees, won't necessarily get me to where I need to be. I'm interested as a 30-year-old to be put in a position where I can retire early. So maybe she would assist in or participate with you in funding a policy like this. So instead of just your $620, maybe she's in a position, because she has a decent job, to contribute an additional $500 on top of that. So what would what is that, 1120 look like over that same 10-year period? With an understanding that during this 10 or at this 10-year mark, this income that's being generated is for you. It's for you because we understand that this is a vehicle that you need to be able to retire. I get it. It's about supplementing income. Awesome. So as in your 70 plus years of age, you now have a vehicle that is generating some a little bit more income than if we would have just done a policy on you. And then in addition, she understands that allowing this to continue to compound, let's say it's another 15 years, so she'd be what, 55? Obviously, you would be a lot older as well. But notice, allowing this to just compound a little bit longer, not only does this become a vehicle that can serve as your supplemental income, but it also puts your daughter in a position to where she can now fire her job. So you took the same dollar amount that you were going to do on you. Instead of doing that policy on you, you said you and your daughter work together to make what sense, I call it a sensible contribution into a vehicle like this that would allow you to be able to support each other. So you're actually working together to be able to accomplish the same goal. Your daughter's a millionaire by age 55, 1.2 million in cash value. And if something were to happen to her, she's leaving to her legacy $3.6 million. So not only does this become a vehicle that's designed to produce income for you, but you still made a legacy play by leveraging your daughter and putting the rest of your lineage in a position to where they will never have to worry about income again.
There's a follow-up question.
Yes.
And since you put 55, that's fine because they said 56.
Okay.
In the beginning, but it says a Skia versus trust. And I think that's where it's the this or that. We keep having that because that's what's been discussed up until now, right? You have to pick this or that versus this and that. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, using the same scenario, because what I'm showing here is, what if the person who was 62 years of age created a trust, and that trust purchased a policy on the 30-year-old. So who owns this policy? Who owns this policy that is buying life insurance of around $577,000? Who owns this policy? What if the trust owns this policy? Who's the beneficiary of this policy? Meaning, God forbid, if something were to happen to my 30-year-old daughter around that age of 55 or later, this $3.6 million would go back. Oh, it looks like I got to bring it up some. This $3.6 million would go back into the trust. So the trust owns the policy. The trust is the beneficiary of the policy. What does that do? Well, that allows the grantor of that trust, the owner of that trust, and the co-owners of that trust, who would be the kids. And I'm going to assume there's a board that would be put in place, but it allows those individuals to now decide how this 3.6 million is being distributed over 500 years. Maybe you want to put in place, if something were to happen to me, I want the death benefit to be used to purchase policies on every newborn from this point forward. And at the age of 14 days, this $3.9 million of liquidity sitting inside this policy is designed to buy MPI plans on 14 day old great grandkids and great great grandkids. And as they grow and as their policy starts to generate income, that income is then distributed throughout the network of our family as residual income to be used for college and homes and whatever the case may be, with conditions, prenups. Maybe you have to have a certain education level in order to be able to receive a certain dollar amount. Like, there's all sorts of things that you're able to do with this. But my point is, the trust can own this policy, and you, as the owner of the trust, get to dictate how this income is distributed and received, and for the next whatever that lineage would be. It could be revocable, it could be irrevocable. It's kind of up to you. But to your point, sweetheart, it is about this and that, not this or that, meaning it's not a trust or it's a Skia. It's what if the trust owned a Skia?
Okay. Next, real quick, before, don't leave, because I think we're just going to pull up. Don't leave. Don't go. Okay. Brandon Council says, I love this, but what happens if the mom stops paying?
Yep. So one of the interesting pieces about a properly designed product, especially with leverage, I go back to, let's pick an age. So let's say she said for 10 years, and she was able to fund this thing for 8. So 38. So clearly there's still, meaning it hasn't been funded long enough. And there's an opportunity to make an adjustment, meaning we are purchasing about $577,000 in life insurance. That premium is $1,120 a month. And for whatever reason, that $1,120 cannot be made. Can adjustments be made inside of this policy so that either we reduce the death benefit, reduce it down to a more manageable dollar amount, or adjust the premium and use some of the income generated to be able to make those contributions? Because this is roughly what, maybe almost $1,100 a month right here, right? 1,100,000. Yeah, it's a little under $1,100 a month, just a little bit under. So is it possible to be able to use this income to be able to supplement some of the premium payment that can't be made there? That's the power of having a properly designed vehicle that has leverage, which means it gives you some room to have errors or make mistakes or be able to leverage some of the money in it to be able to assist in making sure your policy doesn't lapse. Now, when you're able to do that, can you do that at year 1? No, because there's no leverage in your policy to be able to do so. Can you do that at year 2? No, because there's no leverage in your policy for you to be able to do so. So what that point would look like kind of depends. It's not, again, one size fits all, but the bottom line is, if the product is designed properly, there are different levers you can pull to be able to prevent your policy from imploding on you.
Let us know if you have any further questions, Brandon. And put a Q
Why you
before
say that with such a deep voice?
I don't know. I'm getting, I don't know. It was just a mood.
Setting the mood?
Okay,
want to do this again?
Feathers says, how do you feel about HSA savings? I have been maxing my account out yearly for 10 years. I do have 4 different whole life insurance policies since I was 21, now 44. Should I change my options?
There's a lot there. So first off, HSA, um, I put HSAs in the same bucket as IRAs. They can be decent depending on who your HSA is with, and because healthcare is such a problem in this country. Um, I see the power in an HSA, and you have to be an active investor. You have to be an active investor in order for your HSA to really perform the way it needs to perform. So there's a lot of factors there. So I guess I'm not really for or against. I see the value of, especially if you have an employer that provides that HSA, like that's even awesome. But it's just no different than an IRA. There's a fee structure challenge. What are you investing in? Its growth is impacted by the market. So those vehicles that you are putting your money in, you have very little control over how it grows. I like the HSA as a vehicle. It just has the same issues as IRAs. You know, where do you put it? How do you avoid the fees? And how do you produce secure, uninterrupted compound interest? That's the challenge. And then the whole life policies that you have. I've run across so many clients who their parents got this whole life policy on them when they were small. And when I ask simple questions like, hey, what's that contribution amount? How long have you been contributing? And how much cash value do you have? And how are you able to leverage those, what's in those policies? I run into a lot of people who just don't have those answers. So my suggestion would be you pull out those four policies. You understand where you are from a cash value perspective. When did you break even, or have you even broken even? What are you currently contributing? How much life insurance are you buying? There's really not a whole lot you can do with the current policy, meaning there's not a whole lot of restructuring you can do with the 20-year-old policy. The best thing you can do is realize, hey, I'm still here. I didn't pass. This is a life insurance based product that would have provided me life insurance had something happened. But you know what? Maybe this $250 a month that I'm putting inside this vehicle isn't really working for me. So maybe I need to allow this policy that has served me over these last 20 years. Again, I didn't pass, and just accept the fact that what I bought was life insurance. I didn't buy a vehicle that is growing for me, producing cash value and giving me enough cash value for me to be able to do something with at some point. Again, I'm making an assumption that maybe it's not structured the way you want it to. But let's go back and say, you know what? Maybe one or two of those policies are structured, I'll call it effectively, as effective as it could be as it relates to a whole life policy. If it's cheap money, there's no harm in holding on to it, especially if you got cash value that you've been able to leverage, knowing that if I leverage the cash value inside my whole life policy, I have to do the way it reads in infinite banking. I have to pay myself back, and I have to pay myself back with interest so that I can put my policy back whole so that I can leverage that money again. There's no harm in that. But I think the key is understanding what you have, because once you understand what you have, you can make a better decision as to what the action is or the steps you need to take after that.
Okay, I'm coming in here,
I know
brother,
you are.
because this is what I want to say. What I was hoping you'd say is just call me. It's free. We'll go over your policy. We'll look at your options. We'll see what it is. It's free. It's free to do that.
Or I think based off the information that we share on this channel, it allows people the opportunity to be able to pull out their own policy and assess it themselves, because it's easy to see where
Yeah.
do you break even,
Well,
right?
it's true, but sometimes the decisions that have to be made, they're very delicate decisions.
Right.
And
And you're
having
so
a
close
framework
to the problem that it's hard to see the big picture. So yes, I fully understand where you're going. Yes.
here's the point that I'm trying to make. She just had put in the chat that she pays $1,400 per year for each one.
1,400 per year. Okay.
For each one.
Okay.
We can't see her policy right now. We can't see those details. And so even though you're giving her that framework to look at her policy, and I think a lot of people would rather not call. People are like you, by the way, Donna.
I'm not approachable. You about to tell me I'm not approachable?
No, I'm going to say they don't like people in their business. And you are that way with a lot of people. You will not call somebody or not get a consult because you don't like telling people your business. And that's okay. There's a lot of people like that. Raise your hand if you're out there and you're like that and you don't want to talk about it and you don't want somebody feeling like somebody, one, is going to judge you on decisions that you made. Sometimes could have been the decision that you made without a lot of information, right? Without this information, because we don't know what we don't know. And two, sometimes it's like, well, I don't want somebody knowing all my numbers. I don't want that part. Here's the part of I think that people are missing when they come to our channel. It's free. One,
All of it.
there's not a risk monetarily. However, I do understand that emotionally, let's get in here. Get in here. Get in close. Emotionally, this is a difficult thing. But imagine the discomfort you might be feeling today. You know what? No. Record. We're doing redo. Okay? End scene. We're starting this over. End scene. We're starting over. Emotionally, I understand that it's difficult. Totally get that. It is our job to provide the value here, just on YouTube, so that you will feel comfortable calling. So if we are not doing that job, give us the feedback as to what it is that makes you, that is maybe preventing you from feeling that way, and we will make those adjustments. Why does it matter so much to us? Because there are far too many people who have figured it out and they rode off into the sunset. They found their exit number, they exited off the freeway, right? And they rode off into the sunset. They are retired and that is their business. It's their business how they got there. It's their business how they spend their time. Meanwhile, they're watching everybody else suffer, but it doesn't matter because they feel like they got out. I have this terrible analogy in my head, make it stop.
A few moments later.
Okay, moving on. The point is, they got out while everybody else is fighting for their lives, if you know what I mean. Why is this in my head? Okay, point is, that's not us. That's not us. We could ride off into the sunset with this fine tenderoni right here. We could be doing that, but we're not. We're bringing you with us. So all aboard, get in here. And if we are not doing a good enough job to make you feel like you are ready to board the train and head out with us, then we're just going to have to sit here for a little bit longer. But you realize that we could be moving. The longer you wait, the longer it takes to get started and the longer it takes to compound. So if you are feeling emotionally uncomfortable talking about your numbers or just reaching out to get guidance, just guidance, right? Imagine how you will feel 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when you realize that you've waited because it made you feel uncomfortable. No, I'm not trying to entertain people right now. I'm trying to tell the truth. Put that down. Okay, this isn't financial advice. This is financial church. We're heading in. No meat and Jello. Oh my gosh, you got to be on the inside.
So here's the thing
about the meat and the Jello. Don't get me started with that.
So this is about just understanding, peeling back the layers, and sometimes it's very difficult to see where the opportunities are when you're so close to it.
Yeah.
So I think one role that I've realized that I play in this process is I'm the 10,000 foot view guy. Because I will run into people who are so committed to whatever that thing is. I have to pay off my home. One of my favorite stories is young lady. She's maybe 24, 25. And it was student loans. She had to get her student loans paid off. She's paying like $50 a month for, let's call it a $150,000 bill. Like it was a very, very small monthly amount that she was responsible for, but it was a very large number. And her main objective was to get rid of her student loans. And as I kept asking why, like, what is it about your student loans that's impacting your ability to be successful? Because your student loans aren't stopping you from being able to retire early. Your student loans aren't stopping you from putting your money in a position to where it can create employees and build compound interest. What is it? And what we learn is it was the amount of drama in her household around her parents forcing her to go to school and get out of debt as quickly as possible. So it wasn't her problem that she was carrying. She was carrying someone else's problem.
Yeah.
And how many of us are doing it? How many of us are focused on some things and don't even really fully understand why we're focused on them? And so it's the opportunity to take that 10,000 foot view and just kind of call out or identify, hey, here are some things, like you told me this is the goal, and it's my job to help you hit that goal. Are these the factors? Are these factors that you're calling out? Will they make that boat go faster? Will these factors that you're calling out help you get to that goal any sooner? Well, maybe we need to assess these factors and give these factors back to the people who actually own them.
That part.
I don't know.
Man, we are carrying around emotional weight and it is costing us. That's the part. If we had, we would not keep a subscription to a station we never tune into and never would want to. Matter of fact, if you had to pay, for a subscription that not only would you never want to watch it, you're paying for it just so that you don't have to see it. Well, that's kind of like paying to not see ads now, right?
It's true.
Like having a conversation with myself at this point. The point is, it's costing us. And I think what an exercise that we could go through, and we have someone who's very good at doing this. Matter of fact, it took us through this exercise, was he had us assess like a dollar figure of what it is costing us to carry around this emotional baggage. What is it costing you? And then that's just today, right? Then you do the math forward so that you can see what it's costing you over the rest of your lifetime, or possibly could. But the truth is, none of us are promised tomorrow. And so if we don't get our stuff together, and we don't know if we have 1 day or 100,000 days left, that's too many days. That's too many days.
Too many standards.
Yeah, too many standard times. We don't know how many days that we'll have, but what we do know is that somebody's going to have to clean up our mess, so we're either going to leave a mess or we're going to leave a legacy. And I think the majority of people, especially in the chat, a lot of them say they want to leave a legacy. But we got to define what that is, guys, because a legacy is not a garage full of stuff that you kept. Right. That ain't a legacy, right? Are we in disagreement about that? I think we could do a better job of defining what it is that we're going for.
Yep, and that all that points back to is, what's the goal?
Ooh, Feather says, my family are in the funeral business, so I think that's why I've always been focused on health and death. How could you not be? Right. Oh, she's like my girl. Remember the story? So sad. Okay. We've got questions.
Good on questions. Oh, we do?
I just want to put this up here.
Okay.
Yeah. Call me. That's what I say. Call me.
Wait a minute. Rob does. I think I want to say there's a meeting on my calendar with Rob at least once every 3 or 4 days. He's in the midst of going through, the underwriting process for his secure compound interest account.
Okay, you know who I would have recognized his last name. Yeah.
Yep. And I think and Rob reaches out every so often just to make sure that the process is going the way it's supposed to. There's no harm in that. And also, in addition, this is one aspect of what it is we discuss: a properly designed secure compound interest account. But maybe you have a previous employer's retirement account that you want to get put to work. And you want to put it in a position to where you can get it out of the market and build income over time, and you actively want to be a part of that process. What's the harm in being able to transfer your previous employer's plan into a self-directed retirement account to be able to take more control over those dollars and get them working? because a lot of
Yeah,
people don't realize their 401k can buy property. That 401k can buy land. So imagine having a rental property, and that the rent from that rental property grew your 401k. Like, how awesome would that be?
that would be
So
awesome.
yeah, so we talk about a lot of different things as far as actions that Rob wants to take, in addition to if he has any questions about the process that he's going through. So
All right, we got more. We got a few more questions. Nathan, though, we do have an MPI Basics playlist. We have a whole comprehensive video series that's inside of our free resources.
there's Nathan playing volleyball with you. That was a serve.
Well played, sir. I don't have a. I'm not fast enough.
All right, it's been a long day.
Yeah. All right. Selfdirected.info is where you would go to go get those free resources. And you just fill out the form, tell us where to send them, and we're going to send you all of our stuff. Just comes all at once. You can fully immerse yourself in all of the content that we have, and it's completely free. This video series that we have, though, is like that MPI playlist that he was talking about. It is for beginners. It is a deep dive into all the things, but it's little snack size portions so that you it's not a snooze fest. You can't ask questions, but then you can just text us, or you can jump back on here or jump on his calendar and ask any questions that you want, of course. That's your time, by the way. So it's better if you do that. If you do have questions, just book a time on the calendar so that you can have that undivided attention. Outside of that, sometimes the messages get buried and people think that we just don't respond, but it's that we get overwhelmed, and we're a tiny operation over here, right?
Not an excuse, though.
It's not.
Not an excuse. We
Yeah.
appreciate the feedback, and you're absolutely right. Our objective is to respond to every, and you're right. And there are times that we don't. So for that, I apologize, because there's no excuse behind it.
Okay, Peaky is busting out of his beard to make these comments. He is. You ready for it? Here it is. Beard connection.
We almost made it
Oh, we
2.5
there.
hours without a jab.
Yeah, here
And
we
here
are.
they start.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Would one's income or perhaps periods of no income limit that additional funding from sales of investments or assets? Or if one hasn't been started yet, pre-funding of a policy?
Yeah, definitely not a one size fits all, because I think I can think of scenarios where it will have impact, and I would say that's early into your policy. But you give your policy a good solid 7-10 years, that policy can sustain itself. Meaning, because of the leverage and how the leverage grows inside of a properly designed Skia, um, you could put yourself in a position to where you don't even have to fund it. You can use the leverage inside the policy to make those premium contributions and not fund it at all.
What
But
what
again, design matters, time matters, ma'am. Go ahead.
what does he mean by pre-funding?
So I'm assuming pre-funding is in putting in a lump sum.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
So jump starting, putting in a lump sum. Because here's the thing about it: the larger you make your one, we didn't go into the details of how money grows inside the calculator. And obviously, if we're going to start over and talk about compound interest, I also have to breaking down the details inside of a secure compound interest account like this. Like, how does money actually grow? So we will actually absolutely get to that. But when you one key piece to remember is the larger year one, the larger year three. Meaning, the more money you put in year one, the larger the leverage being used at year three, which means the compound cycle not only starts faster, but you're jump starting or hyper funding your policy to be able to start generating cash value as quickly as possible. So does um, putting in a lump sum or jump starting or hyper funding your policy early on make a difference? It absolutely has impact. And again, I go back to, you can put yourself in a position to where you're building cash value at such a rate that even if you couldn't contribute in the latter years, the policy itself could make those premium payments for you.
okay. Well, Saeed had a question about when the Skia is developed enough to pay for itself, does contributing to premiums help, or is it no longer needed?
So This is almost that reverse velocity banking dialogue as well.
Yeah.
So it's a vehicle sitting. I love and no one else may love this uh, scenario, or what do you call it? Um, Example. But
Get
if
into
you had a
it.
machine sitting in your garage and all you had to do was put a quarter in it, and every so often that machine spit out $20, would you ever stop putting a quarter in the machine? And that's what I love about a vehicle like this. Like, I would much rather have a vehicle that's producing me income forever, and the more and more money I put in it, the larger the amount of income I'm able to take from it. So I would never turn it off. Now, at some point, you're going to hit what's called max insurability, meaning you won't be allowed to put any more money in it. But isn't that a great problem to have? Because now you get to max fund other policies, or you get to open up other policies. So you have a choice. But to me, why would you ever stop contributing?
Yeah. It's a great question. Lolo always has great questions. Hello, Lolo. She says, I want to move my Roth IRA from my current financial advisor and his company to take control of it myself due to high fees. Is it a simple process? Is this something that you can help me with?
Yes, easily. You can easily transfer or roll over that previous employer's plan that's sitting at that custodian, move it into a new custodian, tax free, penalty free, and have more control over it. But let's be clear as to what it is you're saying. Today, that money is sitting at a custodian and it's invested in some mutual funds, stocks and bonds, whatever it is they offer, and you have very little control. Well, when you move those funds from that custodian, you're going to end up liquidating those mutual funds, stocks, and bonds, take that cash, transfer that cash, penalty free, tax free, into another vehicle. Well, that vehicle that I just created for you is a properly designed, checkbook controlled retirement account. And you have the ability to have access to those funds and do whatever you want. But if you do nothing with those funds, they are sitting there collecting dust. And so, what I'm saying, the reason I'm sharing that with you is this. Yes, we can move those funds penalty free, tax free, and you have access to be able to grow them however you would like. But you have to have an idea as to how you want to grow them. How active are you looking to be in this process? Are you looking to put that money to work in a non traditional investment outside of the market? That's what you're wanting to do. You have carte blanche, freedom to be able to do so. If you're wanting to be able to invest in what you believe the right ETFs or stocks are that you want to be able to invest in, you can open up your own brokerage account using the EIN number of the account that I create for you to be able to invest in those individual stocks, bonds, mutual funds that you want. So if you want to keep your money in the market because you have a better idea as to how you can grow your money better than where they're sitting, you absolutely can do that. If the goal is to eliminate fees, you put your money in a situation to where there are zero fees. Meaning, if you're invested in non-traditional investments, the only fee you have to be concerned with is the investment that you're putting that money in. Meaning, if you're buying a rental property, what are the fees associated with a traditional retirement account as it relates to that rental property? There isn't, but you do have, the tax situation and all of those other things that comes along with having a rental property. So, can I help you? Yes. Is that something that we can do? It's a pretty simple process. It's not hard at all. But the key thing to remember is knowing where you want your money to go, or having an idea as to what you want to do with it. A lot of words.
A lot of words. Do you assist with setting up a trust or provide resources in order to do so? Thanks.
Provide resources. I've got my lane. My lane is structure. My lane is, you know, providing the tools that you can use to be able to grow your wealth. As it relates to a trust, it first starts with you having your own trust in your state related to your assets. I'm going to call that the parent trust. And then what I can assist you with is I can connect you with the right individual that can help you create that MPI related trust or that secure compound interest related trust. And that's the trust that will hold all of your policies. And so as assets are liquidated, they go back into that Skia trust or that MPI trust. And as people pass, those death benefits go back into that trust. And then the only role that trust plays is it's designed to distribute income as you see fit, And as people are born, it purchases policies on those individuals. And when people pass away, the death benefit rolls back into us. It becomes this bank that its sole purpose is just to distribute income over the next 500 years of your lineage.
That's facts. Okay. Here's the part that I wanted to say to Lolo, though, because you have to say this because you can't advise them on what to use. You can say this is what you can, but not what to.
Right.
Right?
This is what's available to you, not
Yeah.
this is what you should do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I will tell you to do. Can I say that? Can I tell them different things because I don't have the same things as you? Like I don't have the credentials you have. I can say what I want, right?
You can provide your opinion at any point, sweetheart.
Okay, Lolo, here's my opinion. Let's bring it close. Here's my opinion. My opinion is that you look at what your options are if you're wanting to move this money over, because there are a lot of options out there. And there are even passive investment groups where you can give them your money. They do all of the work and they have to give you your money back. So you're essentially becoming a hard money lender, but you are partnering with them on these deals. That's how this works. And it's mailbox money. And this exists out there all over the place. People are buying land with it. People are buying self-storage with it. People are buying multifamily units, whatever it is that you want to be a part of. These are options. This is what our financial freedom tour is going to be about. These are all the different types of groups, especially real estate groups and real estate investment groups, aka REI groups, right? These groups are calling him out in droves to come and help their investors or their partners free up their capital by showing them how to structure themselves properly so that they can access their retirement income to do so. So there are so many options out here. It's ridiculous how many different things you can do with your current retirement account or previous employer's retirement account, or if you just decide you have a side hustle or you have a side business and you have that for the intention of having the ability to create an account like this, then you can do this all on your own and start funding. You don't have to wait for this to be a previous employer's plan or even wait to quit your job. If you want to start putting your money in here so that you can start to structure yourself properly to be able to do this, knowing that, hey, I can just move all the rest of it over at some point, but I can get started now. You can do that too. There's a lot of different strategies, but a lot of people just use these for tax shelters. Can I say all that? I could say all that, right?
You absolutely can. And what I appreciate is I don't think the audience realizes the growth here, because I think you said it very well. These are absolutely all options available to you. The key is structure. The key is making sure you're properly structured, properly designed to be able to take those actions. That's my role. My role is to make sure you have all of the backing behind you to be able to take action when you're ready. You don't have to wait. You don't have to ask permission. You have full checkbook control over every dollar that you're wanting to have checkbook control over so that you can take action. The key is I just can't tell you what action to take.
Yeah. Can't do that part, but I can give you my strong opinion for free on the side right here on the channel. It's just my opinion though. And to your point about the growth, you're talking about the growth because this stuff used to be a complete snooze fest for me. And I thought it was painful to listen to. And even our kids are like, AARP, 401k, like that's what they think we talk about all the time. And they don't know that they're AARP members because now you could be one at 18. By the way, I don't know if you guys know that little rabbit hole. Let's just go down for 1 second, okay? No, let's go down. We're going to talk about AARP and what happened about 3 years ago. People who were 18 and older decided, it was like millennials, right? Decided that it was discrimination for AARP to give discounts to people who were over the age of
50.
So as a result, millennials took AARP to court and decided, you know what, you're going to give us those discounts too. And so not only did they get the discounts, Gen Z got the discounts too. So now anybody over the age of 18 can be an AARP member. You're welcome. Okay, moving on. Rob says, do you assist with setting up a trust or provide resources in order to do so? Did we already?
We did, sweetheart. AARP took you out.
It took me
It's all
out.
good.
Does taking the income generated from the policy affect the growth of the Skia?
Does taking income, I think words matter. If you run into someone who is talking about leveraging a cash value life insurance policy for income and they use the words withdraw, you should run, because you will never hear me use the word withdraw, even though you didn't use it. But take maybe just make sure we're clear on how and what words we're using. When you hear me talk about taking income from a policy like this, I use the word leverage. I use the word distribution. And those words are saying what I'm doing is I'm borrowing against that cash value and taking it as income. So the question is, if I am borrowing against the cash value and taking it as income, do I have to pay it back? What's the criteria that says I can take this income this year and not have to be concerned about whether or not I have to pay this dollar amount back? And it's very strategic, meaning when you look at the calculator, the amount of income that this calculator is saying you can take, there's an intentional reason why it's that number. It is because it is mathematically less than the growth on the total cash value. Putting in simple number terms, meaning the cash value is growing on average somewhere between 13 and 18% per se. Well, if you're making 13% on your cash value and you do the math on how much income is generating, and that's somewhere around 10, 11%, you're taking as a distribution less than what the policy is making. So therefore, you're making more than what you take as a distribution in income. And so therefore, there's no impact to the cash value because you're just simply living off the interest. So hopefully that kind of clears some of that up.
Yep. All right. Skia says, what type of documentation is needed to start a policy on a 14-day-old?
Yep.
Babies.
So if someone, okay, let's talk about the parents. If the parents are wanting to secure a policy on their 14-day-old, what's required is simply a social, I can't even get it out. I'm tired. Social security number.
Social security number.
So once that child is old enough to have a social, then all it takes there is filling out the application. There's no medical exam required. So it is simply that piece of information in the application is enough to be able to assess. But now, in order for a child, when I say child, I mean anyone under 18. In order for anyone under 18 to have a policy, a cash value life insurance policy like this, the parents also have to be insured. It's the concept of making sure, like when the plane is going down, who do you put the oxygen mask on first? You put it on yourself before you put it on your kids. So the thought process is you as the parent have to have life insurance, any type of life insurance. It does not have to be a Skia, but you as the parent have to have life insurance, and your child would qualify for 50% of the lowest parent. So doing actual math, if mom has $500,000 in life insurance and dad has $200,000 in life insurance, then the child, all of the children under the age of 18 would qualify for 50% of dad, which would be 100,000. So they could each have 100,000 in life insurance, and whatever the monthly premium adds up to be to make up for that $100,000, that's what you're able to contribute. Answer questions you didn't even ask.
Okay. Yep. Brandon says, can we set up the trust after establishing our policy?
And I would actually suggest it. Meaning, if the goal is to start generating wealth, then making sure you have your money in a vehicle that can help you generate that wealth, you need to start that as quickly as possible. It's pay yourself first. And then the structure around that, getting that trust done and all of that structure, that absolutely can happen after the fact. Because what you would ultimately be doing is you'd be transferring ownership from the trust. I'm sorry, transferring the ownership from you to the trust and changing the beneficiary from, let's say, your wife to the trust. So what you're doing is doing a transfer of ownership at that point.
Okay. Nathan says the MPI trust is within the main trust.
Right. That's how I view it. This is not my lane, but the way I view it, the way I understand it, because the MPI trust that I would connect you with, it doesn't have, I'll call it, all of the capabilities required to be able to hold all of your assets. So I look at it as a parent-child situation. You would want the parent trust to be the trust that holds all of your physical assets, your home, your land, all of those things. And then under that trust, I'll call it a sub account under that trust would be the MPI trust that holds all of your policies and has the capability to hold any liquidity that comes from the sale of or the liquidation of any of those hard assets. So, good question, though.
When you said holding and hope holding, there should be a guy who does trust, who sets up trust, and his name should be Hope Holden. Hope Holden. You guys down? Let's find one and let's see if they'll Hope Holden. Let's find somebody and see if they're down. I'll help them with the branding.
And this is that part of the episode where it's time to go eat.
No. Okay, Skia says, I'd rather be a little embarrassed now, but wealthy later.
Amen. Amen.
We know it.
And I think the cool part about us is it's really about getting questions answered. So it's, asking the right question to peel back enough layers to understand what is the root, what is at the core, and then identifying solutions to help solve that problem. At the end of the day, I'm really just an engineer, and my job is to solve equations. And so a lot of times the questions that I'm asking you is to kind of better understand the variables associated with that equation so that we can come up with a solution.
And I'm on my healing journey with math because it's not been a vibe for me. But I'll tell you what, this is the math I can do, and the emotional math that it took to be able to get here, to be able to unveil my my relationship with money, my mindset around all of this stuff. This has been more than a decade of peeling back these layers to break these cycles and these stories that I not only was told to me, but I was then repeating to myself. And this is why I would have just passed it right on down the line. Generation upon generation, these stories get sent down, and these emotions, this weight is carried through generations. And I vowed that it was going to stop with me. So that's where I am.
So Peaky Blinder, there's a very, very basic answer to this question. If you look at all of the other channels, how many of those other channels have gentlemen on them with beards that connect? The difference is mine does not. And therefore I'm free with this information.
Bruh.
It's connecting. Is it?
Is it?
Is it connecting? Here's why I brought this comment up, though. I brought it up for a reason. It was because we're not just talking about insurance.
No doubt.
That's the other, I think, thing that makes us different is there are a lot of people who they're kind of within a niche, right? For instance, that's not us because that's not our story, and we have to be able to share our story. It's not that we can just talk about these 6 different strategies. That's not what it is. There are specifically 5 of them that are in our personal journey that we have used and we've connected together, not used them individually. They are connected together and feeding each other so that it's one hand feeding the other, right? This is where you are using the same dollar multiple times and it's growing. It's compounding on an exponential level. Why aren't more people talking about this? First, though, you have to understand what these machines are so that you can understand why they work. Then when you start to connect them together, like we kind of showed, one way of connecting 2 of those same machines together with reverse velocity banking, right? We showed the same machine because we didn't want to confuse anybody. Right. You connect two of those machines together back to back and you saw, whoa, holy cow, that's a pretty big machine. It gets bigger than that. And we're not talking about theory. We're not talking about this is the math on how you can do it. We are talking about how we are currently doing it and how we have already changed generations. they're already changed. There is no going back. And that's what we hope we can gift to everybody else. We're not just saying this is the way that works. We are saying this is a puzzle. Everybody's pieces look different. And so learning how these machines work, you can then see which ones fit in your machine, which ones fit together inside of your equation, and how to put it together so that you can change generations, right? I haven't shared this in a while, but over the weekend we were asked at this event, what's your moonshot? And I had to share mine again. And it just reminded me, like I needed that reminder maybe that of why all of this makes sense. Now, what's the why of why we're doing this channel? The why is because we want more people to feel the way we do, right? We know that they deserve it. Hope, maybe we're Hope Holdings. The why, right? That's the important part. But what's my goal? What's the reason why this mattered so much to us? As I was going through my own personal growth journey, and I would sit there and do like this, I think some people call it like shadow work, where you're like sitting with your younger version of yourself, right? And you're like really going through it, all the stuff and all the things. We won't get into it, okay? I promise. It was imagining what it would have been like, because I think that's what I was grieving. I was grieving an experience that I felt I deserved. And I was grieving something that was unfair. You can't take that part away. It was unfair, some of those things. I was imagining what it would be like to have had it different, to have been born, to have been prepared, a space prepared for me, prepared before I was even a twinkle in an eye, right? And it hit me in that moment that I can do that for somebody else. This isn't imagining to go back and only just heal. This is healing and then, right? And that's the part. It's not this or that here either. It's healing and then what are you doing with it? We're not going to heal so that we can watch other people go through traumatic situations and then show them how to heal, right? What's the point of that, right? We're not healing in cycles, generational healing. Right. If we're going to stop generational trauma, we're not just going to start generational healing. Like we have to have trauma to heal from. So we have to stop it all. It's this and that. I want to make sure that I can look at my granddaughter's face, because the kids are here, right? Our kids are here. But our grandkids, they aren't here yet. They're not even a twinkle in the eye, and they better not be. The point is that they are not here. I want to know what it is like to be born into a family that already loved me before I was even here. Already loved me so much that it got them up at 6:30 on a Saturday to prepare my place. And their kids are born with that same sentiment, and people who looked them in the eyes and knew you have such a great purpose because your place was already prepared for you. I want that for everybody. I want everybody to feel that way. And I think we can do that. We can start to change the world one family at a time, one baby at a time, just born into a family who is, whether they're born even, right? What if this is an adopted situation? What if they are chosen into a family?
Right.
They don't have to be born into a family. Let's just be honest. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is that you are changing generations. Unless we're saying that we're the end, right? Then we have to move forward. I'm going to get off that topic.
If you didn't come from a wealthy family, you can make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
And that's where that comes from. Right.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what our mission is. And that's what we're living every day. Okay. Let me finish these questions. Like, I'm so sorry. People are waiting. Okay. So we did that one. We did that one. We did that one. We did that one. Okay. So why are we the only channel talking about this? Because we're different. We use it different. And I think a lot of the other people, they are unwilling to even listen to about other vehicles, to let alone learn about them, to then put them into action and actually be using them. And we've been doing this for well over a decade. So now we're just out here talking about it because we're tired of people saying, no, there's only one way to 10. There's many ways to 10, and we have seen how colorful the rainbow is. So we're just going to get out here and share all the colors.
Well, and that's the part, because a lot of times what you will hear is this works, so only do this because this is actually how I get paid. Or this works, only do this, all of that other stuff is trash. When in truth, it all talks. If you peel back the layers, whether we're talking infant banking, velocity banking, a secure compound interest account, leverage, HELOC, PLOC, BLOC, IRA, 401k, if you, again, because you said it very, very well, very, very well earlier, it's a puzzle. And it's identifying what is the piece and how does that piece merge with your goal. Identifying what is your specific combination to unlock what this opportunity would be. And it's specific. It's not a one size fits all. It's not all you have to do is. It's really understanding those details to be able to identify where these specific opportunities are, because it looks different for everyone. And again, I'm a problem solver. Like, I'm an engineer at my core. So I just want to understand what the variables are so we can identify a solution. And these solutions aren't, again, this is what you should do. 9 times out of 10, what I'm sharing with you is what I would do in your situation.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would hope that prompts is, well, if you would do that, here's a piece that maybe you didn't think about. So here's my approach. So you get to add your piece to what these steps might be. Because a lot of times when we're going through these examples, I intentionally only highlight one path. And what I'm hoping for is I want to get questions from you going, well, why didn't you do this? You're right, because you can. And if you were to do that, here's what that outcome would be. So it's kind of, hopefully this becomes a community of people that all we do is provide solutions. Here's how I approach this process. Here's how it worked for me. And that allows those who are new to come in and go, wow, there's a wealth of information here, not gate kept. There's
Yeah.
not a paywall that you have to get behind in order to understand what this information looks like. It is freely available.
That's right. We all deserve to thrive, not just survive. So that is, and we can do even more than that. We have to believe that it's possible. We can't just say, we see the Stidhams on their YouTube channel showing how it's possible for other people, but it's probably not possible for me. Let's find a way. Let's
Yeah,
look
no
at the
doubt.
shape of your
No doubt.
pieces and let's put them together, because the alternative is to go out there and find somebody else that will convince you that this is the only way. And you just have to wait it out to find out if that was true or not. Where versus you learn exactly what this is that you are making a decision on, then you can do the math forward. You can double check along the way to make sure that it is working and who's benefiting or who's not, right? So that's another thing. All right. We have a couple more questions here. Jeremiah says, off topic, velocity banking question. Can I use more than one debt tool since my single tool I have right now is not large enough for all my expenses?
Yeah. Can you use multiple tools? You can. But remember, velocity banking is about the debt tool. And so ideally, the main purpose is to put all of your attention on the balance inside that debt tool. And when that balance is gone, you then leverage the freed up room, the freed up cash flow on that tool to then go chunk away at other debts. So it's solely focused on that one tool. If you have if you don't have a debt tool that, I'll call it, large enough to be able to hold all of your income, maybe debt snowball might work a little bit better. And this is where I
I
know it
agree.
sounds strange coming from me, but I think all of these things are meant to work together. So sometimes velocity banking isn't the right answer. Maybe it's freeing up, starting at the smallest debt, paying it off with the cash flow that you have. And then as you increase that cash flow, you're putting yourself in a more credit worthy position. So then you go try to access more lines of credit, or increase the limits on some of the cards that you have, so that you can effectively do velocity banking the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
So I think there's many ways to go about this.
Yeah. And I do think that because there's so many people saying, oh, debt snowball is not the thing, it's velocity banking. It's debt reduction.
Right.
What are we talking about?
Right. It's freeing up cash flow.
And I think the confusion is causing people to not even get started because they're afraid of starting. And I think that's the part that is so sad, is like, even 6 months, you've seen, even right here, how powerful 6 months can be if you are just chomping away at debt. So it doesn't matter if you are starting with the debt snowball, you're going to reduce your debt. If you start with the avalanche system, you're going to reduce your debt. If you have a good debt tool and you want to utilize velocity banking, you're going to reduce your debt. Either way it goes, you can either hurt yourself or help yourself. And the border between those two is information and how you understand it. So that's, I'm going to put this out there. If you think a $4,000 software program is going to help you, that is how
Shots
much
fired.
that is how much this program is. And people say, "Oh, well, you can make payments." I don't care. I don't care. If you're talking about velocity banking and you are talking about that, how significant cash flow is, why would you be making payments to a software? Why? We have the highest amount of household debt, and there are people out here preying on people who are in debt. Now, first it's credit repair or whatever those side hustles were. Now it's software that uses ChatGPT for $4,000. This is crazy. It's crazy. What could you do with that $4,000? Because after you've paid for that software and after you've done what you're going to do with your velocity banking strategy, that's cool. You got out of debt. But I promise you, the majority of the results that they're claiming happen to be that they're paying off houses. What's your money doing? If it's sitting in your house, how is it helping you? What are you doing then? Can you eat the software when you're sitting in a house and you have no income coming in, but you bought this software and you've paid off your house and it is sitting in your house? You have equity. You can't fry it up. You can't slice it up. What are you going to do? You have to go back into debt to leverage the equity to then go have income, or you have to sign something like an HEA. So don't let them out here talking about what an HEA isn't, because exactly what it is some trickery that it gives them the ability to have their name on your deed. This is not even a HELOC. This is something completely different. This is an agreement. There is no agreement in HELOC. It is line of credit, not agreement. Equity agreement? This is crazy. Okay, I'm almost done. But the point is that the amount of topics, the things that people are talking about, is because what they're saying is there is only one way to 10. And that way benefits me. That way is profitable for me. That way gives me a commission. Do you know that it is illegal to be out here on social media now and be promoting any kind of product or service that you benefit, that you get a commission or affiliate commission or anything like that without disclosing that? It's illegal. We have people that have reached out to us and said, hey, if you give us referrals, we will give you a kickback or a referral fee or an affiliate fee. And we said, no, thank you. If we feel like your service is good, we will refer people to you. That's no problem. But we do not want any kind of compensation in return. We don't want it. If there's a compensation, give it to them. Take it off their bill. We don't care. They say, why would you do that? You could be making we don't care. Here's why, because we will follow the rules. If there is something that we have to say, we're going to tell them. And we're not going to be doing what other people are doing. We are going to tell people if we're compensated for something. And wouldn't that change how you viewed our opinion? It would change mine. If I said, hey, we're highly referring this company, and we also have to disclose that every time that you guys use this company, we get $500 or $1,000 or $2,000 every time you use this company, but they're my favorite. They have all the solutions, but every time you guys go there, I get $500 or $1,000. Would that change how you would value that opinion? it would change that for me. I'm going to tell you right now. If I knew that probably the only reason why, or that person may not even know a lot about the company, but they sure are getting paid from the referrals from this company. So we just told everybody, no, thank you. And some people think that we are dumb. They think that we are leaving money on the table. They say, why would you do that? Especially as YouTubers, right? Like, isn't that the name of the game, is to be out here influencing? Isn't that? Look at y'all being influential. Why wouldn't you not want to pick? Why wouldn't you want to do it? Because we have a mission and we have a purpose. This just in, okay? If you haven't heard it before, you heard it here now. We have a mission. We do not care. We don't care. Our whole mission is to give people the information that they deserve, not because they have to pay for it, not because we're compensated for it, not because we benefit from it, because we know that if we take care of people, we'll be taken care of. It'll happen. We already took care of ourselves. We already figured that part out. And we were so frustrated watching some of the other things that happened. I'm going to get off this soapbox. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, and you said it, so I have to make sure it's clear. If you notice, when we talk about home equity lines of credit, there was a time I was talking about a white glove service. Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason I was talking about that white glove service is because that's the service we used for our HELOC.
Right.
So it started out as, hey, use this service because it saved me headache, not because there was a kickback from it. And actually, I was offered a kickback from it.
Yeah.
And which made sense. Like, if I'm going to talk about a white glove service, why not? But then you're absolutely right. We had to ratchet that back. It was like, wait, hold on. The point, the purpose, the goal is information. And if that information comes with a cost, okay, there's a cost associated. But what I will not be associated with is, in order for you to achieve your goal, I have to somehow piggyback, nickel and dime, or peel off your good fortune in order to make my own. And that's not true. So we had to actually peel that back. So when we talk about first position, second position HELOCs, and I get asked, hey, are there banks? Yes, I can share with you there are communities out there that can assist. But as far as us being able to benefit, or us actually benefiting off those opportunities, we have to ratchet that back.
Yeah, we don't want it. And if somebody wants to send us, they want to sponsor by sending us free stuff or giving us stuff to give away to you guys, like, we're down with that. That's cool. Send it on over. But if it's they want to compensate us, we don't care. And I think a lot of companies are going to start wising up, and they're going to offer, you can either be compensated, but you have to disclose it, or you can flip that compensation and say, this is a discount that you are passing on to your audience or whoever you're referring over. I think certain products, like, you know how I love Dawn Power Wash, babe. You know how I love Dawn Power Wash. And there was a point when in any basketball game we went to, I was just talking about that Dawn Power Wash. At everywhere I went, I was like, wow, do you guys know what I did with that Dawn Power Wash today?
This segment sponsored by Dawn Power Wash.
You won't believe it. And I probably had every basketball mom at the grocery store buying the dang Dawn Power Wash. And they were coming back to the next game like, girl, that microwave, though, I'm like, shining, right? They're like, quickly. I probably could have been the Dawn Power Wash spokesperson for a hot minute there. See, Nathan's like, Dawn Power Wash is a staple in our house. There's something in there. Might not be good for us, but it's
right.
working.
We'll learn 10 years from now.
If you were a loved one, had the Dawn Power Wash. The point is, though, that if every time that somebody went and bought it, because I was sharing how much I loved it, if somebody went out and bought it and Dawn was like, thanks, girl, I would have been like, you're welcome, because it's my pleasure, right? But that's not how it is nowadays. And then when it comes to these things, we have to be the change we wish to seek. We can't be out here doing something different than what we are hoping and wanting for others. And what we hope is that others will join and do the same. They have the choice to do it. They just have to want to, right?
I think
Are
my
you
camera
frozen?
just said I'm out.
Well, we have more questions, so we just a few more. So come back with us, Donnell.
Come back, Nikki. Come.
Yeah, come on, come back here. Anyhow, everyone in the chat's like,
Emotional damage.
we are dead with her rants right now. All right, well, when he comes back, we got a question from Lolo and Christina. Let's bring up Peaky's. Here, let's get in here, guys. Grandma said to me before she passed, it's up to you now to be the exception. Nobody else is going to do it. Thanks for sharing that story, Angelique. Hope Holden. I need a drop sound. You missed it. This comment on here. Well, anyway, let's celebrate that it's your turn, Peaky. It's your turn to change the trajectory of your family. I'm excited for you, and that's quite an honor. It's quite an honor. And we've got to honor the work that other generations have done too, right? Like just because we're here where we are, we have totally different situations. We kind of talked about this earlier when I was doing that interview with Evan Carmichael today, that our parents didn't have the options that we had. Our grandparents didn't have the options that we had, especially at our ages too, right? Like everything was completely different. So we got to honor the fact that we are where we are with the perspectives that we are, and we have access to this information. Like, wouldn't that make your great grandmother, grandfather person and what their experience was like? Wouldn't it make them proud? Because they were probably sitting around looking at you like, I wish I had access to internet. What the heck? We didn't have any of this stuff. We didn't have none of this stuff. And we did the best with what we had. You know, that's what they said. Okay, you ready?
I am.
If the market crashes, for example, 3 years in a row while living off of income from a Skia, would you have to decrease that income in order to continue growth?
Yeah, I would have to say short answer to that question would be yeah. I think there would absolutely be a need to reassess, reevaluate how much income is being received, what's the impact to your overall cash value. Maybe the answer would be no, but maybe the answer would be yes. I think that's a hard one to kind of plan for. But here's what I would say: if there's 3 years of consecutive down markets and you're receiving retirement income from your 401k, wouldn't you have to do the same? Because it's all impacted the same way, right? If it was 3 years consecutively of down markets, would it be, hey, I'm going to jump out of the home that I'm in and go buy a brand new home? Like, I think everything would have to be assessed and evaluated and understood. What's the impact overall? So I think the short answer to that question is absolutely.
All right. Christina says, I have a 4-year-old and the insurance is 10 years pay up. Is it for 20 month? Is this a good policy?
Oh, so it's a 10 pay. So it's a 4-year-old 10 pay for 20. Oh, I guess I guess the 20-month part is the piece that I'm missing.
No, maybe let's put a comma somewhere and try it that way. I have a 4-year-old. The insurance is 10 years pay up. Paid up additions.
So again, 10 pay. So I'm with you on the 10 pay. Okay.
Is it for 20 months?
And regardless, let's say I fully understood what this sentence means. Let's say I did. My answer would still be the same.
No, I bet
I don't think my answer is the same regardless. It is, I don't know. I think what we would need to do is lay that policy out and look at and understand, one, what you're putting in it for, and what that cash value that is growing inside of it. Most policies for children are inefficient for the first 18 years, regardless. Most. And so I would say you really wouldn't understand what the power of that policy would be when you get beyond that 18 years and they get reassessed for health, and you can actually start pouring in leverage into that policy. So I would say it's probably within that first 18 years of age really functioning no different than a 529 plan, even meaning it's probably growing effectively. Again, if it was properly designed, it's probably growing effectively. But then once you hit that 18-year mark and you understand how much leverage you can add in and what that growth looks like over time, it's get kind of fully assessed. So I think you'd have to have more answers before you do that.
Okay. Kevin says, is it possible to communicate with you, y'all, to ask the questions in order to find out what we do not know through a Q&A session via email before a strategic telephone conversation is scheduled? Well,
Yeah, do it all the time. There's email, there's text, there's many different ways.
Well, let's get in here. Kevin, what do you think the strategic telephone conversation is? Maybe that's part of the issue. This might be some good insight into what people might assume about this call.
Mm-hmm.
Because Kevin, let's say the first one, you said, yeah, I have 15, I'm just going to book a 15 minutes and I'm just going to fire hose Donnell with questions for that 15 minutes because here's why. Because if you do it through email, then it's when, it could take 3 days
When
to
I get
answer
to it.
a few questions.
Let's call it what it is when I get to it.
And here's why, because somebody else was like, I'm going to jump on his calendar and I'm going to ask him these questions. I'm not going to play F around and find out in the email and the text, okay? Be honest. They had their questions answered in 15 minutes and they knew when they were going to be answered. And that's the difference. Then if they wanted to book a strategy call with Donnell, then they just put more time on the calendar. Mm-hmm. That's how it works.
Yep. And my only asking that process,
anyway.
Yeah, and my asking that process is to, depending on what the objective is of the call, make sure you take advantage of the free resources that we already offer to be able to answer a lot of those questions. So if it's having a vehicle that you can use to effectively do velocity banking to be able to eliminate debt. Well, before we even talk, what do I need from you to understand where we're headed from a velocity banking perspective? You need to know your numbers. So we offer resources for you to be able to better kind of peel back the layers on what you're currently doing to understand what your numbers are so that we can have an effective conversation around velocity banking. It's the same as it relates to a secure compound interest account. I would much rather focus on your goals and where it is you're trying to go versus defining what a secure compound interest account is and how it works. There are resources available to be able to do so. And I share all that to say, once you go through those resources, maybe it jogs more questions. Maybe it prompts more questions so that we can actually peel back layers on some of your initial questions that were maybe surface. So we can actually get to the core of what the opportunity might be.
Yeah. Okay, I have another answer for Kevin, but I'm going to pull this up. This is unlicensed therapy, Skia. That's what this is. It's unofficial. Just my thoughts and just my thoughts and prayers for y'all. Let me bring Kevin back up here. Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's why I want to talk about this. Kevin, we need to talk about it, okay? So I hope you're still in here. Put it in the chat if you are, so we know that you're listening. Or we'll clip it out and send it to you. Either way. That's weird, right? Don't do that. That's weird.
Why not?
Okay. Point is, Kevin, you can jump. I hope you are in the Facebook group because this is a perfect opportunity to hold a discussion with other people. That way it can be like you're not having to be on the live stream during the time that we're live in order to communicate with other people. That's what the Facebook group is for. The whole reason why we started this group was because we get so many of the same questions too inside of the email or the text message. And if we can ask them, if we can join in as a group, then everybody gets to learn at the same time. And people who are maybe shy or don't want to ask the questions, they're intimidated to ask the questions, they'll get to learn too just by being lurkers in the group, right? We see y'all. We know who you are, and it's okay. We love you too. We know that you're there because you want to learn. That's significant. That's a dope move. Just the fact that you opted in to say, I want to see it all happen. I'm ready to be, even if it's on the sidelines, if I'm sitting in the bleachers, I want to be able to see it. I'm this close. There's a lot of people who are too afraid to even turn it and watch it on TV, right? They're too afraid. We gotta move. We gotta do that work to move people from being on the sidelines watching it to being in the bleachers to being on the sidelines, being on the bench to being in the game, on the field, on the court, any of those sports references. There it is.
Wow. Well done.
Thanks. All right. I think we are
tapping
ready
out.
to go. Yeah. So I think we're good. I think we got everyone's questions answered. We have been here for a long time. So we are going to go ahead and shut down. But on this note, with Kevin here, we're going to show you how to get those free resources in just a moment. So we like to end with, if you didn't come from a wealthy family,
you can make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
So stay focused.
Stay protected.
Stay tuned.
Stay connected.
I'm Angelique.
And I'm Donnell.
And our goal is to help you
get self-directed.
And to do that, you got to get the free resources. Here's how to get them. We'll see you back here on Sunday, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Times, and all the other standard times after that. Gosh. We'll see you back here on Sunday. Thanks, guys. Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you get self-directed.